Emperor of the Desert. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Academy City. Izir Qin. In the rental house, a young man put down his bag and sat in front of the computer with a tired face. What do you mean by rough modeling? There is no skin. What's wrong with roughness? This is the first version of the rough product. How can it be ugly or not? The young man is called Qin Ren. No nagging. He is a modeler, currently a game modeler. Today, he was arranged by the planner and was very sad. The key problem is not that he was arranged by the planner. It is not uncommon for a modeler to be arranged by the planner to change the model repeatedly. The same is true for the wall painter. After being arranged many times, it becomes a habit. But the arrangement is wrong. Dear, it is really annoying to have an outsider pointing fingers, and it is a novice planner. Qin Ren is also impressed by his boss, who actually hired a novice planner. The scenery of the game is too good now, so he wants to make the game fail. Qin Ren scratched his premature gray hair, looked at his two computers, and his eyes stopped on the workstation. Forget it. I won't render today. Let's make the game first. He has two computers. One is dedicated to modeling, materials, and rendering, and the other is for casual use. His major in college was digital media technology, which is a major that also learned some programming, modeling, and painting. Although he was not particularly good at studying, he was very attentive in the professional courses he was interested in, and he also studied outside of class. Although the graduation process was a bit difficult, after working, he got the hang of it quickly because of his proficiency in the business. Until now, he has become a mature modeler. He turned on the computer skillfully, and after the mouse paused on the LOL game icon, Qin Ren moved the mouse and opened another document on the desktop. He likes all kinds of themes and characters related to the desert, such as Lulin, Egypt, and Laosha in One Piece. His favorite is still the Tsar, lol. The Tsar in League of Legends. He was making a fan game. The theme was an adventure RPG, a horizontal 2D game. The protagonist could earn points in each level dungeon, and redeem all kinds of messy sand-related abilities. It was not finished yet. When he opened the setting copy document, the computer suddenly crashed. What happened? Although this machine was not particularly good, not as good as the workstation next to it, it also cost him tens of thousands of dollars. Raising his hand, Qin Ren, who was a little annoyed, slapped the host, trying to repair it through the ancient physical vibration repair method. The result, that slap went down, accompanied by sparks and lightning. The whole rental house exploded. He also made the news of the day, as a dead person. In the world of Magical Index, Academy City, District 7, a young man who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old was looking up and raising his hand to the sky. The weather is fine. He was Qin Ren, and his current name was Izir Qin, the name he set for his fan protagonist in the game. His current appearance is not the original one, but the appearance he set for the protagonist in the game. Blonde hair, sandy yellow eyes, and a height of 1.88 meters. It is not Izir's appearance. In fact, he doesn't know what Izir's face looks like. He only knows that his hair is brown. When he finished drawing the character design, he found that his face looked more like his real. Then he casually changed the color of his hair to blonde. It looks about 70% to 80% like him. For selfish reasons, it looks about 50% to 60% like him. However, it seems to be Izir's face before the rework, not after the rework. He was more handsome before the rework. That's why he is called Izir Qin. Izir Qin Ren. Izir Qin, simple and crude naming method, but also very handsome. After being narcissistic for a while, Qin Ren raised his hands high. The current situation is that he traveled through time and space to become the protagonist of the fan game he made, and then traveled to another world. The young man looked up at the sky through the gaps between his 5 fingers, and said to himself with a little shame, "Shurima, your emperor is back." As he spoke, a translucent panel like a sand painting emerged in his mind. A huge yellow sand disk full of grandeur floated in his mind like the sun. On the huge disc like sand and dust, there were 5 discs condensed from yellow sand. Qin Ren was thinking, why did he set the password to be so childish in the first place? It would be nice to make a spoof like kicking the horse in anger, "Your emperor is back." Fortunately it's the original line, and the reason of playing the role can also dilute the shame. Qin Ren thought a little helplessly, and then observed this familiar system panel that was exactly the same as the Sun Disk of Shurima. Exchange, Enhancement, Personal Items, Empire, Exchange, Enhancement, Items, Empire. There are 5 columns in total: Exchange, Enhancement, Items, and Empire. Exchange can be exchanged for various items, skills, abilities, runes, bloodlines and other things related to Sand, Egypt, Shurima and Zar's skills, skins and equipment. In addition to equipment, it is not limited to League of Legends, Gaara from Naruto, Old Sand from One Piece, Sandman from Marvel, and all things related to sand can be exchanged. The ability of the sand fruit from One Piece can also be exchanged directly. One bad thing is that because the exchange mode he set is a 5-grid refresh exchange, the first 5 skills are the exchange of the 5 Zar skills including the passive, and they can only be exchanged after the exchange. How can it be fixed? I would have set it to be exchanged at will. Strengthen is to directly consume the bounty to strengthen items, skills or your own abilities. Personal is the personal status bar, including attributes, equipped items, skills, and the amount of currency. Items is the item bar, which can store things. It refers to the item bar of the poisonous milk powder, which can store 3x10 types of items and can be unlocked through props. Empire was originally a house of memories, with functions such as viewing plot CGs and item illustrations. The corresponding memories would be unlocked according to the amount of items redeemed and the number of copies experienced. However, it seems that there is a bug now, and it has become a huge, boundless desert space. He himself still doesn't understand what is going on. Qin Ren clicked on the personal panel in the middle, and the yellow sand disk in the middle disintegrated to form the following text: Real name, Qin Ren, race, human, bloodline, blood of Shurima, attributes, health, 100% G, health regeneration /5s, 1% G, armor, G, attack power, G, attack speed, G, mana, 100% G, mana regeneration /5s, 1% G, magic power, G, magic resistance, G, movement speed, G, attack distance, 525 yards, critical hit rate, 1%, momentum, 0%, bounty, 30 yellow sand gold coins, equipment, ordinary t-shirt, ordinary overalls, ordinary shoes, skills, 1, bloodline talent blood of Shurima, G, can control small solid particles around and manipulate them to move and change. The higher the mana and magic power, the stronger the control and the number of controls. The farther the distance, the greater the consumption. The normal power is G, which is affected by magic power, and the maximum additional magic power is G. 2. Mana flow attack, G, shoot your mana in the form of pure energy. The normal power is G, etc., which is affected by magic power, and the maximum additional magic power is G. The real name, race, bloodline, and attributes are all easy to understand. The skills are also. The first skill is Izir's bloodline, which is the protagonist of the game. As a fan game, the background he set for the protagonist of the game is that the protagonist is Izir's otherworldly counterpart, who comes with a primary Shurima blood, which can be upgraded through exchange and enhancement. What is the otherworldly counterpart? It's Izir from another world. It's the man destined to become the emperor of the desert, probably. The second skill is actually Izir's mage attack, but it is not affected by attack power, but by magic power. As for the other, what is the momentum value? This was something he had set up for fun at first. It was originally just a concept that had just been implemented and not yet perfected, but now it was a sin. Why do I say that? The momentum value can be increased through actions, language, performance, and various elements that can increase momentum. That is, it looks so powerful. To put it simply, it's a middle school second. Qin Ren sat up straight, his face serious, his right hand raised, his eyes full of vicissitudes. Shurima, your emperor is back. The moment he made this move, the momentum value on the system suddenly increased from 0% to 30%. At this time, a little girl holding a doll passed by him in front of him and blinked. "Mom, this uncle, don't get close to him, let's go." Qin Ren remained calm and disdainful of the comments of passers-by, but his heart was already boiling. Fuck, damn, so shameful. Qin Ren suppressed the urge to cover his face and kept his face calm, but his slightly trembling arms and slightly twitching mouth corners made his momentum value drop to 15%. But soon, he recovered from the shame brought by the second-year student. He was almost used to it. The momentum value is related to the currency system he set up. The currency system he set up is the column called bounty. Bounties can be obtained by defeating enemies, but each individual can only obtain a bounty once. In order to avoid losing the fun of the game, it is not okay to repeatedly kill a monster to obtain a bounty. I should have known not to set it up that way. Who knew I would travel through time? Who knew when I traveled through time, I would travel through time and become the protagonist of my own game? Who knew I would travel through time and become the protagonist of my own game and bring my own game system with me when I traveled through time? 3 consecutive raps. The relationship between momentum value and bounty is that when you defeat an enemy, the higher the momentum value, the higher the extra bounty you get. Similarly, the lower the momentum value, the less the amount of bounty. If it drops to 0, there is no bonus, and if it is negative, it will be reduced. Moreover, momentum value has other effects. The first effect is life value. When the momentum value drops to 0, the life value will slowly decrease, and when the momentum value is negative, the speed of life value reduction will increase. This setting was originally intended to limit the time it takes to clear a level, but I would have avoided such a weird setting earlier. What a bummer. In addition to health, the second effect is the mana regeneration speed. However, compared to health, the effect on mana is more positive. The mana regeneration will increase or decrease by a certain percentage depending on the momentum value. For example, the current mana regeneration /5s, 1% G, means that 1% of the total mana of G level can be regenerated every 5 seconds. If the momentum value is 100%, it is 2%, and if the momentum value is 50%, it is 1.5%. In fact, if it is in the game, restoring 1% of mana every 5 seconds is not a big deal in the game because of the game rhythm, and it is even a bit slow, but in reality, it is really a bug. In the game, it is quite unacceptable to take 500 seconds to recover, but in reality, it only takes 500 seconds, and in less than 10 minutes, it can be fully restored. Do you think it is a bug? It is not easy to kill a boss with low health and no mana, but he is full of health and mana 10 minutes later. Would you never despair? Moreover, he has also experimented. This recovery speed is the same in and out of combat. Such a buggy setting. How can we lose? How do you say we lose? How can we lose if we set it to face writing? Question mark. Chapter 2. Many slots. Izir Qin. Although Qin Ren thought he was the biological father of the system, he still didn't fully understand the changes of this son of a bitch. Just when Qin Ren was thinking about how to deal with this son of a bitch, a girl's voice rang out. Izir, what are you doing here? A girl of 16 or 17 years old, with hair bangs in front like a hedgehog head and long hair at the back, wearing a white shirt and black school pants. When Qin Ren turned his head to look at her, she raised her hand to Qin Ren and greeted him. In her other hand, she was holding a school bag that looked like a briefcase and a plastic bag full of what should be discounted goods. Looking at her, Qin Ren recalled some settings in a certain magical index. There are 3 main camps in this world. First, the technological side, that is, the Academy City. The superpower city where Qin Ren is now is built by the general chairman of the Academy City, Izir Qin. For more than 50 years, the population is nearly 2.3 million. and 80% of the residents, more than 1.8 million, are students. Here, most people can obtain personal reality through superpower development and thus obtain superpowers. By the way, if he remembered correctly, the establishment of Academy City was essentially to attract a boy named Kamijutma to come to this city. Second, the magic side has been influencing the world since ancient times. Today, it exists mainly in the form of churches, also known as the mysterious side, and its members are generally called magicians. Third, ordinary people, that is, ordinary people, have no knowledge of the magic side. Basically, they think that the magic side is completely a fantasy, but they have some understanding of the technology side. They know that the technology side, that is, Academy City, exists, and they are also the spectators who know that superpowers exist. There are many forces on the magic side, including various churches and small magician organizations, individual magicians, etc. The base camp of the technology side is Academy City, a country within a country. The area is about 1/3 of Tokyo. The academy contains dozens of universities and hundreds of elementary, junior high and high schools, and more than 1,000 research institutions of all sizes. Academy City has the most advanced technology in the world, which is 20 to 30 years more advanced than the outside world, and is the leader of the scientific world. It is said that the General Council has full management, but in fact, there is no real power at all. The power is in the chairman, that is, the magician boss. Since most of the technology and research here are highly confidential, the security system in the Academy City is very strict, and there are strict restrictions on personnel entering and leaving. It is not wrong to say that the magic side and the technology side are in a hostile relationship, but who knows that on the technology side, the big boss of the Academy City is actually a magician. After complaining in his heart, Qin Ren stared at the girl in front of him and couldn't help feeling a little dizzy. When he first saw that the name of the mayor of the Academy City was Aleister Crowley, he didn't feel anything, thinking that it was just a mistake in the simplified Chinese translation he carried. But after staying in the Academy City for a while, he finally noticed that there was something wrong with this magic world. Because the girl in front of him, the body shape is similar to Kamijikori Kamiju, and the personality feels like Satin Ruko. Her name is Kamijumaki. At first, he thought it was the gender change of the leader Kamiju, but later, when he saw Kamijumaki and Kamijutma appear at the same time, what about the gender-changed leader? However, when the leader and the female leader appear at the same time, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" the lively and cheerful girl asked. Without any scruples, she sat directly next to Qin Ren, supporting her cheek with her hands, looking at Qin Ren with a puzzled look. "Nothing, I thought of your brother." Qin Ren covered his forehead and said with a headache. After such a long time, the sense of disobedience still could not be eliminated. He still found it difficult to accept that Kamijutma and Magical Index had a sister who looked similar and looked like a feminized leader no matter how he looked at it. Moreover, it was not only Kamijutma who had a sister Kamijumaki, but also other people who had changed. "Haha, your relationship with Ma is so good." Kamijumaki laughed heartily and slapped Qin Ren on the shoulder with his left hand. Her name is Kamijumaki, a student of an ordinary high school in the 7th district of Academy City. She is a level 0 powerless person, except for her extreme luck that she can win a trip to Hokkaido by buying a shopping voucher, and having a brother who is completely opposite to her and extremely unlucky. She is no different from ordinary people. A month ago, she met this tall foreign man who was not in the same class and was a little strange, but very easy to talk to. After meeting her, the other party approached her. At that time, she was thinking is Miss Kamijumaki, who has been single for 16 years, about to usher in spring. But unfortunately, she seemed to have misunderstood. Qin Ren had no idea what she was thinking, but the inexplicably weird look in her eyes made Qin Ren feel a little creepy. This look felt inexplicably similar to the look of his sister who had been single for 27 or 28 years. Qin Ren looked up, looking at a momentum value that almost dropped to 0 because of his behavior. He sat up straight with some helplessness, frowned, and pretended to be serious. "Kamijo," but before he could say anything, Kamijumaki said, "Ms. Kamijumaki still hasn't had a boyfriend." "Who asked you this?" Because of the emotional fluctuations, the Shurima blood in his body reacted, and under the stirring of magic power, the surrounding quicksand surged slightly. Looking at the sand flying around, Kamijumaki blinked her water-blue eyes, stretched out her left hand and patted Qin Ren's shoulder. In an instant, Qin Ren felt that his strength instantly became stronger, and the slightly raised sand stopped with only a little strength. Somewhat speechless, Qin Ren looked at her left hand, like Kamijuma's right hand, but different. Her ability is reflected in her left hand. Tma's right hand has the ability to eliminate any superpowers, magic, or any supernatural power as long as it is touched, regardless of good or evil. Even the miracles that appear in mythology are no exception. Moreover, he who is familiar with the setting of the plot knows that this is just one of the other party's abilities. He claims that even luck can be wiped out. That is why he is an unlucky boy. And Kamijumaki's left hand can also erase all abilities. But on the contrary, she herself is an extremely lucky girl. At this time, Kamijumaki seemed to remember something, looked at Qin Ren with some doubts, and asked in a low voice, "Izil, your ability is at least level 3, why did you come to our school?" By chance, Kamijuma saw Qin Ren using his ability in the park to clean the sand sprinkled on the bench by children. Qin Ren seemed to have the superpower of controlling sand. Hearing this question, Qin Ren had no expression on his face, but he was a little tearful in his heart. "Actually, I am a relative of the chairman, but I don't want to show off and want to live a low-key life, so I was brought here." In fact, when Qin Ren traveled through time, he appeared in other places outside the Academy City. After figuring out that this was the world of Magical Index, he found his way to the Academy City. When he tried every means to manipulate the sands to dig holes underground through his ability to manipulate particles and drill into the Academy City like mole, he was caught not long after, and was treated as a special target. Under the guidance of a red-haired man, he entered a building without windows to meet a woman floating upside down in a huge culture tank. It was when he was caught that he remembered that it seemed that the entire Academy City was full of a tiny machine called Hoverloop that could monitor the entire Academy City. In the eyes of Alistair, there was no such thing as infiltration in the Academy City. After a series of complicated operations and conversations, he was regarded as a rough stone by Alistair, the so-called natural superpower. Qin Ren was a little surprised about this, but he didn't say anything and just accepted it. After all, his power is not magic, nor is it a superpower. It seems that there is nothing wrong with the blood of Shurima being treated as a raw stone. He is not stupid enough to tell others that he came from another world. After that, he was arranged by the hanged girl to this ordinary high school. Is the high school with the leader and the leader ordinary? Others may believe it, but he won't. About arguing with Maki Kamiju about whether he knows Alistair. He does know Alistair, and with his personality, even if he makes a few connections and says that he is her nephew or something, the other party should not deliberately stand up to refute. The most important thing is that when he makes a few connections to fool people, his momentum value can still rise. Momentum can rise. After that, Qin Ren decided to go all the way with the road of pulling connections and pulling tiger skins. As for whether others believe it or not, it doesn't matter. Momentum value is very important. Kamijumaki was only half believing and half doubting, with more disbelief in it. Really? Of course it's true. Qin Ren pulled the tiger skin without blushing. Kamijumaki smoothed the 2 strands of hair that fell from her cheeks, but still didn't believe Qin Ren's words. At this time, Qin Ren took out his mobile phone and looked at the lock screen interface. July 12th was unusually conspicuous on it. It's 11 o'clock now. I have to go back. Kamijumaki leaned over to take a look, and seemed to remember something and said, "If Tma cooks, I'm worried that the kitchen will explode." Oh, Qin Ren was about to answer, but at this moment, he saw Kamijumaki stretching slightly and leaning against the back of the bench. At the same time, a flash of lightning flew from a distance, accompanied by the crackling sound of electricity running through the air, flew in front of Kamijumaki's plump chest, and then passed by Qin Ren's ear. A hissing sound was heard, and the lightning was blocked by Kamijumaki's raised left hand. "What are you doing? Discharging junior high school girl? Why are you discharging for no reason again?" Hearing her voice, Qin Ren, who was a little dazed, seemed to remember something and turned his head to look in the direction of the lightning. A brown-haired boy who looked like a junior high school student and was wearing the uniform of Tokuwadai Boys School was standing a few dozen meters away with an unhappy face, responding to Kamizumaki's words. "What is discharging junior high school girl? Woman, how many times have I said it? I'm not Mikoto, my name is Misaka Suekoto." As he spoke, lightning flashed on the boy's body. Seeing this situation, Qin Ren didn't dare to stay where he was, and quickly turned over and left the chair. At the same time, the magic power was agitated, and the sand scattered on the ground and the sand on the roadside suddenly surged. With a rustling sound, they gathered in front of him and formed an irregular shield. Chapter 3 I want to complain about Izir Qin. According to the rating of strength in Academy City, there are 6 levels. Level 0, no ability, ability that cannot be measured or has extremely weak effect. 60% of all students. Level 1, low ability, can barely bend a spoon, basically no help in daily life. Level 2, psychic, slightly more useful than level 1. Level 3, strong ability, can be used and brought convenience in daily life. Level 4, great ability, the degree to reflect tactical value in the army. Level 5, super ability, can fight against an army alone. There are only 7 people, but there are others who may become LV.5. Level 6, absolute ability, a person who reaches the realm of God with a non-God body. No one among the ability users has reached it yet, and Qin Ren's ability to manipulate fine particles can be classified as about LV3. According to this classification, he used all his mana to support him to manipulate sand with a total weight of about 1.5 times his body weight in the air for about 100 seconds. He is 1.88 meters tall and weighs 75 kilograms, which is a standard range. In other words, the weight of the sand he can control is a little above 110 kilograms. After the gravel formed the shield, Qin Ren stuck his head out to see the situation. The junior high school boy who called himself Misaka Suekoto was undoubtedly the so-called Pouch. Do you think it was the gender-changed Pouch? No, 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 he is Pouch's brother. No, he should be called Pouch. Pouch and the leader are happy enemies, and Pouch and the female leader are also happy enemies. Although it feels cool and fun to use electricity when watching animations, it is not so fun when you actually encounter a situation where electric light flies past your eyes. He has a lot of complaints to make, but for the sake of momentum, he can only pretend to be calm. Misaka Suekoto was a little stunned. There were 2 relatively tall landscape trees behind the bench, and because of the perspective, he only saw Kamijutma and didn't notice Qin Ren's existence at all. After seeing Qin Ren leave the bench and control the sand to form a sand wall, he noticed the other party's existence, and the other party's vigilant eyes were undoubtedly because of himself. Yes, I'm sorry. The boy apologized a little embarrassedly. Although he had no ill intentions, he did almost hurt someone. If apologies are useful, why do we need the police? Qin Ren couldn't help but complain in his heart. But forget it, he can't beat him now. What else can he do? Qin Ren comforted himself while releasing the control of the sand. After the sand wall lost Qin Ren's magic support, it immediately lost its support and collapsed into a pile of sand. Looking at the momentum value that was about to drop to 0, Qin Ren waved his hand calmly, showing the tolerant smile of an adult to a child. It's okay, I don't care. In fact, he cared a lot. Okay, the arc just now almost hit him. Okay, his hair was almost burned. The fragrance almost came out. Okay, however, because of his calm actions, the momentum value suddenly rose to 20%. Momentum value key point to one's own behavior will increase the momentum value, and the reactions of others will also affect the increase or decrease of the momentum value. This is what he summed up in this month. When others think Qin Ren's behavior is very imposing, he can increase his imposingness by a few points. When others think you are not imposing, the increased imposingness will be less. In other words, he needs to pretend to be imposing with all his heart and strength. He is so tired. Is there any movie star skill that can make him a movie star in an instant? Of course, he does not have the skills of a movie star. Even if he does, He does not have enough bounty to redeem it now. In this month, he only got 30 bounties by looking for trouble with gangsters and incompetents. Moreover, because each person can only get a bounty once, it cannot be repeated. Where can there be so many bad boys to cause trouble? The exchange of various skill items is rated, just like the rating of attributes. To strengthen, you need Huangsha gold coins, which is points plus 10 lower level vouchers. Generally speaking, it is divided into 3 levels: destruction level, natural disaster level, and doomsday level. If it is broken down, there are 8 levels: monster level, destruction level. Reference objects include lion dog, mantis, happy wind man, etc. G. Against monsters, weak, frontal kill / resist / equivalent to the power of sick and weak monsters. Additional bonus 0.8, 100 points. F. Against monsters, normal, frontal kill / resist / equivalent to the power of ordinary monsters. Additional bonus 1.0, 1k points plus 10 G level certificate. C. Against monsters, extreme, frontal kill / resist / equivalent to the power of the monster's extreme level. Additional bonus 1.2, 1 W points plus 10 F level certificates. Behemoth level, natural disaster level. Reference objects include Renukton, Doghead, Galio, Giant Worm, etc. D. Against behemoths, against armies, frontal destruction / resist / equivalent to the power of an army of thousands to tens of thousands of people. Additional bonus 1.4, 10 W points plus 10 E level certificates. C. Against behemoths, against cities, frontal destruction / resistance / power equivalent to city level. Additional bonus 1.61 meter, 1 million, points plus 10 D level certificates. B. Against behemoths, against countries, frontal destruction / resistance / power equivalent to country level. Additional bonus 1.8 10 meters points plus 10 C level certificates. God level, doomsday level. Reference objects Phoenix, Orn, Volibear, Dragon King or Lion Saul, etc. A. Against demigods, against planes, frontal destruction / resistance / power equivalent to the level of the surface of the planet. Additional bonus 2.0 100 meters points plus 10 B level certificates. S. Against gods, against stars, frontal destruction / resistance / power equivalent to the entire planet or even the galaxy. Additional bonus 2.5, 1 B points, 1 billion points, plus 10 A level certificates. These seem exaggerated and difficult to reflect in the game, but these settings are actually very simple to reflect in his game. The first 3 levels are normal horizontal level breaking and fighting monsters, that is, the destruction level. The middle 3 levels are to fight the monsters and then the giant boss, which is the disaster level. The last 3 levels are just a simple bullet hell game, just like the bullet hell games like Raiden and 2, where each enemy is a planet. For example, elite monsters are white textures in various spirals, strips, and rings, which are said to be galaxies. The protagonist will use the Shurima sun disk as a beam launcher to launch beams to attack. In fact, these power settings were almost just background boards, but after crossing, these settings became reality. In terms of exchange, all abilities, skills, and items and equipment are G level when they are initially exchanged, and the highest additional bonus is G. In other words, the additional bonus of G level is G, which means that when a punch is equivalent to G damage, the maximum additional bonus damage is G. This is easy to understand. As the attributes and skills are strengthened, the power bonus of the skills gradually increases. The strengthening of attributes is the main thing, and the strengthening of skills is also very important. The vouchers that you can get the corresponding voucher by defeating an enemy of a certain level. What Qin Ren wanted to do now was to upgrade the attributes and exchange Izir's skills first. There were 2 reasons for this. First, he really liked Izir's skills. Second, Izir's skills, equipment, enhancements, etc., had exchange discounts. Special offer, understand? Special offer. He wanted to exchange Izir's skills. He wanted Sand Soldier appearance, W. He wanted Sand Rush, Q. He wanted Quicksand Shift, E. He wanted Wall of the Guards, R. Third, because the exchange he said was a refreshed 5-grid exchange. The skills that could be exchanged in the initial exchange column were Izir's 5 skills, and nothing else could be exchanged until all of them were exchanged. Although he had a lot of emotions in his heart, he didn't show any expression on the surface. As for Misaka Makoto, he just gave this unknown blonde uncle who was probably at level 3 an impression of being quite generous. After the other party didn't make any moves, Misaka Makoto turned his target to Kamijumaki again. This woman made him care too much. His brother was able to counteract his electric current attacks several times with inexplicable methods, and she could also find a random passerby and use the passerby's ability to resist his attack. When she saw the other party's eyes, Kamijumaki, who had dealt with the other party several times, grabbed her shopping bags and school bags, turned around and ran. Izil, I'm leaving first. While running, she did not forget to say goodbye to Qin Ren. However, as she ran desperately, various special ingredients fell out of the plastic bag that had been broken by the electric current. Misaka Suken blinked. This should not be his fault. At this time, 2 black shadows suddenly appeared beside him, hugging his arms on the left and right. Suken-sama, what are you still doing here? My sister has been waiting for an hour. Kuroko? Suken-sama also has his reasons. Brother, you should be considerate of my sister who has been waiting for an hour. Kuroko? Wait a minute, no time. Suken-sama. The voice stopped abruptly. Of the 2 boys and girls who suddenly appeared, only the boy was left. After looking at Qin Ren, he bowed slightly, and then his figure disappeared in an instant. Qin Ren came to his senses and looked at the empty scene, then looked at the eggs, special beef, and a wallet that fell on the ground. He stretched out his hand, touched his chin thoughtfully, and said to himself, where should I start to complain? Speaking of which, what was the plot like? Qin Ren always thought that it was amazing that people could remember all kinds of plots and settings very clearly after traveling through time, because even someone like him who has watched the animation, original novel, comics, spin-offs, and radio dramas of Magical Index once or twice can't remember some details of Magical Index. He didn't even notice that the hanged man and woman built the Academy City to attract Kamiju to the city. It was only later when he was discussing Kamiju's 8 dragon heads with the irritable old guys in the forum that someone mentioned it to him. There are actually countless Alisters in those water tanks. It's not strange that Alister changed from a man to a woman, because there were female individuals in the original setting of Alister, and they were very beautiful. Qin Ren knew a lot of little-known facts, such as Kamiju may have killed people, and he has a strong revenge mentality, and he has a bloodthirsty tendency when he is sexually excited. Don't ask what sexual excitement is. This is the original words of the big boss of the forum, but if he wants to think about it specifically, he can't think of it, and when he doesn't need it, it will suddenly pop up. Oh, there is such a thing. Qin Ren is in this state now. Except for looking for gangsters to fight everywhere, he has no idea what should happen at this time and place, and who in the original work did what. Chapter 4, Izir Qin, the expert in fraud. Because of various strange changes, everyone's personality is slightly different, and things will change a lot. In fact, there is also the reason why he thinks he can't beat others. If you want strength, you need a gold coin bag, and you have to fight, defeat a character rated as G level, and you can get a G level yellow sand bag, which only contains 1 yellow sand gold coin. F level, an F level yellow sand bag, you can get 110 yellow sand gold coins and a G level certificate. E level, an E level yellow sand bag, 101,000, an F level certificate. D level, a D level yellow sand bag, 1001 W, E level certificate. C level bag, 1W10 W, D level certificate. B level bag, 10W100 W, C level certificate. A level bag, 100W1000 W, B level certificate. S level bag, 1000W100 W, A level certificate. It also depends on your luck. The ordinary people he killed now were basically G level, and they were fixed at 1 yellow sand gold coin. Because each person could only fight once, even if he often went to fight with various bad boys, He could only collect 30 yellow sand gold coins after so long, or risk being imprisoned for a few days and just find a special ability user to fight. He really wanted the skills! At this time, because he almost bumped into someone, Qin Ren made an evasive action, but because of this action, he bumped into someone else. "What are you doing? Walk properly." A male student who was slightly shorter than him and had a discipline committee member's armband on his shoulder said in a sharp tone. It seems that his identity as a discipline committee member brought him a lot of momentum. Although Qin Ren wanted to apologize, after all, it was his fault, but the other party's attitude. Qin Ren took a deep breath, glanced at the declining momentum value, and then straightened his back slightly and moved in front of the other party. It happened that the height of 1.8 meters was still relatively high for the students of Academy City. "I really am sorry." Qin Ren narrowed his eyes, put his hands in his pockets, and spoke word by word with his face less than 10 centimeters away from the male discipline committee member. This action, no matter how you look at it, does not look like an apology. On the contrary, it looks more like a provocation. And this behavior, the momentum value, which was about to drop to 10, suddenly rose to 35. Qin Ren's actual intention was also to provoke. As a good young man in the new era, how could he take the initiative to hit someone? He can only legitimately defend himself if someone provokes him. He can always fight back. What? Touching porcelain? This is not touching porcelain. This is legitimate defense. Qin Ren looked at the person in front of him. This person is not a gangster, but a discipline committee member. Discipline committee members are students of Academy City, an organization that maintains law and order in Academy City. Their functions are to carry out beautification activities in the area, picking up garbage, traffic management when necessary, serving as traffic police, catching people who abuse their abilities and lawbreakers, serving as police, and protecting students, serving as babysitters. When the discipline committee members cannot handle a situation, their superiors, the city's security forces, and the guards will take over. By the way, as a discipline committee member, will you be able to encounter and deal with fights frequently? That is, the official witness of beating? Oh, this is a good idea. He is in need of Huangsha gold coins. Speaking of discipline committee members, we have to think of the Anbu. Otherwise, talk to the hanged man and ask him to give him an Anbu identity or something. It should be possible, right? After all, I am also a rough stone, although it is a fake rough stone. But it should be possible. Thinking of this, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In the eyes of this male student, this tall blonde man, after bumping into him, did not apologize sincerely, had a bad attitude, and also despised the discipline committee members. Qin Ren's smile was directly defined by him as contempt. Then, this adolescent boy who was more easily excited, after being ridiculed by Qin Ren, directly took out a baton and was about to swing it at Qin Ren. His ability is level 2, strengthened attack, which can strengthen the attack caused by himself by 2-3 times. If this baton hits the opponent, the strengthened attack can directly make the opponent lose the ability to resist, which is one of the reasons why he became a member of the discipline committee. Not only those with high superpowers can become members of the discipline committee. Basically, as long as there is an ability that can be used in the work of the discipline committee, there is a chance to become a member of the discipline committee. Although the original Qin Ren was not very good at fighting, and even insulated from fighting, after coming to this world, he found 30 different bad boys, and he had dealt with each of them more than once, so he had more or less understood fighting. At least, it was no problem to deal with this person. When he made a provocative act, he was ready for a fight. The mana surged and fell, and at the same time, a piece of sand gushed out from Qin Ren's overalls, condensing into an irregular, rough gravel palm, and directly grasped the wrist of the discipline committee member. Qin Ren, who was a modeler before crossing, was quite confident in shaping. Is this how the discipline committee abuses its power? Taking the initiative to attack students? Qin Ren stared at the discipline committee member and spoke before he could say anything. Moreover, he controlled the hand of sand to slightly adjust the position and posture of the opponent's arm, so that the situation looked to the people around him as if the opponent wanted to attack his head. Should this be called touch porcelain? No, 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 this is legitimate defense. The people around him couldn't help but show a puzzled look. What happened? Why do you need to attack the head directly? I didn't. The disciplined man noticed the gazes of the people around him and couldn't help but say in panic, "It's him. It's him. What's wrong with me? What did I do to require you to do this? To attack my head with a weapon?" Qin Ren was relentless and skillfully touched porcelain. He had experimented with this set of skills many times on various bad boys and was quite skilled in using it. Hearing Qin Ren's words, the people around him, including the boy himself, couldn't help but look at the right hand that was held tightly in the air by the hand of sand. According to this trajectory, it was indeed aimed at the head. His other companion, a female discipline member, also became suspicious after seeing the baton he was holding in the position of his hand. Besides, is he trying to use his ability? You're going too far. The disciplined girl walked to the side of the disciplined man in a bit of anger, and after saying something to him, she was about to say something to Qin Ren. Sorry, this. But how could Qin Ren give up this bag that could possibly contain 110 Huangsha gold coins? Although he hadn't fought with a person with an ability yet, no matter how he thought about it. Chapter 5 I want to play a stock Izir Qin. At least it should be F level, right? It should be able to drop bronze sandbags, right? Qin Ren vaguely realized that he seemed to have become a money grubber, more like a wheel mother than a yellow chicken, a treasure hunter or something. Speaking of which, when I get rich in the future, I can exchange for wheel mother's skills and weapons to play with. And now, he controlled the sand grains and stabbed them slightly, causing Fengjimin to feel a slight sting. This pain made Fengjimin a little angry. He felt a little wronged by being suspected by his companions. With resentment, he lied with a red face and thick neck. I really just want him to lose his ability to resist. Yes, he attacked me first. Hearing this, Qin Ren, who was a little embarrassed, now had no psychological burden at all. Although Qin Ren was wrong to bump into him first, before he apologized, the other party's attitude was not good at all. And it was definitely not him who started it first. With a slight movement of his mind, Qin Ren controlled the hand of sand, grasped Fengjimin's wrist, and pulled it towards him. He also deliberately delayed for a moment before he took the opportunity to retreat and dodge. It looked like the disciplined man was angry and launched another attack, and he dodged after noticing it. The disciplined girl widened her eyes and looked at the disciplined man in disbelief. As for Qin Ren, after the foreplay was done, it was time to move on to the main show. Do you still want to come? Qin Ren's expressionless face had a hint of gloom, and he looked intimidating without anger. With a clench of his palm, all kinds of small particles on the road, whether iron filings, dust, glass slag, or other small particles, gathered into a gray sphere with a diameter of half a meter under Qin Ren's control, and then smashed towards the disciplined man. Wait a minute, the disciplined girl hurriedly said, but in fact, when she saw the big sand ball, she took a step back. Her ability was not combat-oriented, and dodging was her subconscious reaction. Fengjinan wanted to dodge, but under the control of the hand of sand, he couldn't dodge at all and was hit hard by the sand ball. He fell to the ground with a slight sound, and his head hit the ground and he fainted. Qin Ren was careful. To defeat the opponent and get the yellow sandbag, he didn't need to kill him, but just make him lose consciousness. Clapping his hands, Qin Ren put his hands back into his trouser pockets, staring at the fallen Fengjinan expressionlessly, but he laughed in his heart. The yellow sandbag, got it. And the girl Fengji looked at her companion who had fainted, turned her head, and glared at Qin Ren sternly. Even if his injury is not serious. Qin Ren, who is well versed in the art of pretending, narrowed his eyes slightly, bent his back slightly, and put his face close to the girl Fengji's face. Excuse me, young lady, what is his ability, and what consequences will the attack on me just now cause? Qin Ren's face, although not a peerless one, is almost as good as a dragon. It is absolutely easy to give a gift to make friends and then kidnap and rob. Moreover, even if he is not handsome, a man with his face so close to her. The girl Fengji took a step back, her momentum weakened a little, and said with some stammering, his ability is level 2, enhanced strike. which can enhance the strength of the attack. Oh, what will happen if such an attack hits me? When the enemy advances, I retreat. When the enemy stays, I harass. When the enemy is tired, I attack. When the enemy retreats, I chase. Following up at this time can further form an oppressive momentum. Qin Ren, who is proficient in tactics, continued to approach the girl Feng Ji and pressed her. "You'll get hurt." The disciplined girl looked at Qin Ren, who was getting closer, and took a few steps back, leaning against the glass wall of the store. Using a baton, using this ability to attack the head, what kind of damage will it cause? Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets, took a few steps forward, and continued to ask. His momentum value had already risen to 50. Maybe. The disciplined girl couldn't retreat any further. Looking at Qin Ren's face approaching, her momentum was extremely weak, and a little blush appeared on her face. Then is it considered self-defense? Just as Qin Ren was about to take further action to raise his momentum value, a voice came from behind him. "Yes, but if you continue to do this, it will be considered as molestation." Qin Ren stopped his plan to push the disciplined girl against the wall, stood up straight, turned his head and looked at the owner of the voice. A boy who was slightly shorter than the average junior high school student, with brown hair and a unique voice, looked at him with his arms folded. "Shurima Kirachi?" Qin Ren thought about it and uttered the name with mixed emotions in his heart. If it was the 2D version of Shurima Kuroko from the comics and animations, Qin Ren would have recognized her at first sight. But what was in front of him was a three-dimensional, realistic scene. And it wasn't brown twin tails, but brown short hair. This was Shurima Kuroko's brother, Shurima. Is this world called a certain magical index with a lot of twins? It looked like Shurima Kuroko had become masculine, with short hair and school uniform. If it wasn't for the unique voice and the fact that he had heard it not long ago, he wouldn't have recognized her at all. "Oh, do you know me?" Shurima thought about it. He didn't remember waiting for a moment. It seemed that he had seen her not long ago. "Are you the one from the park?" "Yes, one of the two people who were almost electrocuted into barbecue by 100,000 volts. Qin Ren gave up on questioning the girl and turned around completely, shrugged his shoulders with his hands in his pockets. "Sir, you shouldn't have used such a high voltage attack, right?" Shurima Kirachi blinked, not understanding the meaning of Qin Ren's words at all. He didn't know there was a creature called a shell-breaking creature, nor did he know there was a yellow-haired electric mouse called Pikachu. After asking in confusion, Shurima Kirachi shook his head and said to Qin Ren, "Forget it. You can go now." He glanced at the fainted Feng Ji man. There was no blood, he just fainted. If he was right, he was only slightly injured. He was still measured in his attack, just treated as self-defense. "Kachiki, help me lift him up." He called the Feng Ji girl to pull out the Feng Ji man whose half-body was buried in the dust. After the Feng Ji girl glanced at Qin Ren, she ran to Shurima Kirachi to help. "Forget it. It's okay." Qin Ren glanced at the yellow sandbag marked with F in the inventory, and didn't plan to stay here any longer. He was the kind of person who lived paycheck to paycheck. Saving money was a very difficult thing for him. It was the same in the game. Once he got a treasure chest, he wanted to open it immediately. "Well, goodbye, little brother. Say hello to your sister for me." Qin Ren waved his hand, put his hands in his pockets and turned away. At this time, he suddenly remembered something. He almost forgot that if he wanted to join the discipline committee, wouldn't it be better to just find the discipline committee and join? Chapter 6, Praise for Izir Qin. In Chinese, there is a big problem. That is, it seems that it is not so easy to join the Anbu. The hanged girl is not so easy to see either. That guy, the second of the 7 level 5s in Academy City, had to go through a lot of trouble to see the hanged girl, and he almost died. He has never seen the hanged girl again except when he first came to Academy City. It seems that it is unlikely to meet Alistair and become a member of the Anbu. It is better to try the discipline committee first. Shurima Kuritoshi, who became calm and steady after leaving Misakasu Akoto, completely ignored Qin Ren's words "little brother," and only glanced at Qin Ren for the words "say hello to your sister for me," and did not respond at all. When Qin Ren turned around again and seemed to be about to leave, he was bending down, preparing to use his ability, level 4, space movement, to take the disciplined man to the hospital. But at this time, he heard the man's voice again. "Excuse me, how can I join the discipline committee?" Shiraikurachi looked up and looked at the strange blonde man. "You want to join the discipline committee?" Before he answered, the disciplined girl who was almost pushed against the wall by Qin Ren spoke. "Students who want to become members of the discipline committee need to sign 9 agreements, pass 12 adaptability tests and 4 months of training. You are not a student, so you shouldn't." "Of course I am a student." The mana surged, and the sand in his pocket formed a palm, took out the student ID card from his pocket, and put it in the disciplined girl's hand. "Student, 1.8 meters tall, a student in the 2nd or 3rd year of high school." Shiraikurachi also stood up, moved closer to the girl, and looked at Qin Ren's name. "Izir Qin, foreigner? I don't know, maybe Egyptian, British or any country with blonde blood." Qin Ren touched his blonde hair and raised his eyebrows. In fact, Qin Ren also wanted to say that he was from China, but there were too few things mentioned about China in Hippo's works. After coming to this world, he didn't know the situation of China in this world. If he insisted that he was from China, he would not be able to answer any related questions, or his answers would be irrelevant, which would be a bit bad. The hanged man. No, the hanged woman is a completely cold-blooded character. If there is anything wrong, it's not surprising to be killed. Another point. The image that Qin Ren set for his protagonist is very different from the appearance of Chinese people. At least this kind of blonde hair is not what Chinese people should have. One of the parents is Chinese, and the other is from some other country with blonde hair. This setting is more reasonable. However, it is better to answer directly that he has lived alone since he was a child, and he doesn't know where his parents are or who they are. There won't be so many troublesome things in the background. In fact, Qin Ren also thought of various homophonic, augmented, and translated Western kana for his name. In the end, he thought that the name of the protagonist of the game, Izir Qin, would be fine, even though he still wanted to use his original name. When the upside-down girl asked him his name, he answered that his name was Izir Qin, and he was an orphan. This was embarrassing. Of course, unlike the general orphan protagonist, Qin Ren had parents, sisters, brothers, and his mother was the kind who could give birth. However, the setting of being alone would save a lot of trouble, and the words "just now" to Shiraikurachi and another Fengjai girl completely meant that he had no parents. Either his parents died or he was abandoned. So pitiful. Although he had just been bullied, the Fengjai girl's sympathy overflowed when she thought of Qin Ren's tragic background. "Although I don't know what you think, I'm not that pitiful. You are so miserable but you still pretend to be strong. Wait a minute, listen to me." Qin Ren looked at the girl who was crying because of his tragic experience with some speechlessness in his heart. Although this girl has small breasts, she is very maternal, and she is a kind and good girl. While thinking this, a sense of guilt rose in his heart, because of his behavior towards this girl just now. These are not important. The important thing is it's decided. Why don't you come to our branch? The disciplined girl clenched her fists cutely and said to Qin Ren seriously, "Come to our 163 branch." "But, Kachiki, isn't your branch full?" At this time, Shiraikurachi next to him said with some confusion, "This girl is called Kachiki Miru." "Oh, that's right." Kachiki Miru was stunned. "By the way, Shirai Sr., isn't your 177 branch not full yet? Let Mr. Izil go to the 177 branch." This. Shiraikurachi really didn't expect Kachiki Miru to push the matter here. Then he glanced at Qin Ren, but found that the other party looked like he was in a trance. It's true that Qin Ren was making all kinds of associations because of the name Kachiki, Rukia, by Akiya, death god. However, because of his days, his aura value was gradually decreasing. Because of this, Qin Ren suddenly woke up. His expression changed. His eyes became sharper. His expression became more stern. He looked at Shiraikurachi seriously. "Are you asking me to join your branch?" "I agree. When did I ask you to join?" "And what is I?" Shiraikurachi's face was full of black lines. Why is this guy talking to himself? Is he too self-conscious? This is about self-proclaimed dignity. Qin Ren continued to talk nonsense. Self-proclaimed dignity? What kind of strange thing is that? At this time, Kachiki Maru next to him seemed to have thought of something and suddenly pounded his palm. Senior Shirai, the plural form of dignity is a language usage, Latin for pluralis _ majestatis. A person with a high social status uses plural pronouns to refer to himself when speaking. People who use this self-pronoun are generally leaders of political power, religious leaders, such as kings, emperors, popes, etc. This usage is common in traditional Europe and the Middle East. I heard that Western monarchs use the plural form of dignity when referring to themselves. Oh, I didn't expect you to know so much, Myru. Shirai Heizi blinked. As a student of an elite boys' school, he can be considered to be quite knowledgeable, but he really doesn't understand these obscure knowledge. Then he turned his head and glanced at Qin Ren. I see, you should be able to come in handy when dealing with matters related to foreigners. I have this confidence. Qin Ren looked calm, as if it was not a problem at all. But what is the plural form of dignity? He didn't know these things at all. Comes in handy when communicating with foreigners? He had graduated for so many years, and had basically forgotten all English except for programming. Moreover, the only English he remembered was text, and he couldn't speak it at all. Speaking of which, why did everyone in this world speak Chinese? And why was Chinese everywhere? Although Academy City was a fictional location, it seemed to be in Tokyo in Hippo's setting. Then he thought of something, and turned his attention to his system, and looked through the settings. Simplified Chinese good reviews. Chapter 7, The Twin Attack on Sister Izir Qin. What dignity? He just said this casually, it doesn't mean anything, but it seems that because of this, his momentum value has risen. Qin Ren glanced at the little star twinkling in the eyes of Kachiki Maru for some reason. What's going on? Did I miss a few episodes? But for the sake of momentum, he had to take on this inexplicable pressure. Qin Ren nodded indifferently, and then patted Kachiki Maru on the shoulder. From now on, you will be appointed as my royal follower. Huh? Follower? I haven't been a follower yet. The girl had forgotten that her companion was knocked unconscious and that she was almost wall-donged. She clenched her fist with excitement. I understand, Mr. Izir. Shirai Kurachi looked at the two of them. Are these two planning to do a crosstalk or something? Regardless of who is better or worse, although the names are different, Japan also has crosstalk. Shaking his head, Shirai Kurachi looked at Qin Ren with a stern expression and said, after that, you will come to our 177th branch. The signed agreement and adaptability test will be done elsewhere. The next 4 months of internship and training will be in our 177th branch. If you pass, you will be able to become a formal member of the discipline committee after 4 months. Then, Kachiki and Mr. Izir, I will leave first. Ajbk. Now the legal proof of income of Huangsha gold coins is here. While feeling happy, Qin Ren continued to maintain a stern expression that could bring him some momentum value, and stopped Shirai Kurachi from leaving with a question. I have a question. What question? Shirai Kurachi stopped calculating and did not move in space. Where is the 177th branch? The momentum value dropped. Do you want to open the bronze Huangsha bag? You have obtained 7 Huangsha gold coins. 110 coins. Is 7 considered good luck or bad luck? Now there are 42 coins. Normally, one skill, item, etc. requires 100 yellow sand coins, but because of Azra's skill discount, Azra's skill is half price, that is, 50 yellow sand coins. Just 2 more pray similar to that discipline committee member, get 2 bronze yellow sand bags, should be enough money. It's impossible for each bag to only open 1 yellow sand coin, right? However, compared to this, he has become a pinch sister. To Qin Ren's surprise, becoming a pinch sister was quite smooth, so smooth that the other discipline committee members of branch 177 were somewhat unbelievable. That day, when he went to take the assessment according to the discipline committee process, he passed directly. Generally speaking, not counting internship training, it takes several days, but he passed it on the same day. He himself didn't understand why. What is the relationship with Aresta? If it is true, then it is still possible for him to join the Anbu? Just when he was distracted, a voice came from the intercom. Hello, Izir, are you listening? Shirai Kurachi frowned. Hello, what's up, Kuroko? Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets, and the magic power in his body surged. The sand he carried with him gathered into a palm, and he took out the intercom from his pocket and put it to his ear. Kuroko is my sister. My name is Shirai Kurachi, and we are not familiar enough to call each other by name. Please call me Shirai. And have you finished cleaning up over there? A unique male voice came from the intercom. It's still hard to get used to it. Twins and all. Are there so many twins in this world? Okay. Qin Ren sighed in his heart, and then turned his eyes to the surroundings. Countless fine sands floated in the air, throwing garbage into the trash can one by one. Is the discipline committee just for picking up trash? I am a level 3 ability user now after all. The right power should be used in the right place. The main job of a level 3 strong ability user during the internship period is to keep the environment clean. Shirai Kurachi's calm voice came. I think my ability has a better place. Ms. Kuroko, let the cleaning robots do things like picking up trash. Qin Ren looked up at the sky helplessly, and a huge airship flew through the sky. For example, subduing criminals or something. I said my name is Shirai Kurachi? The pronunciations of Kuroko and Kurachi are so different. Why did you mix them up? Shirai Kurachi and Shirai Kuroko sound exactly the same to Qin Ren's ears, who can't distinguish between flat and retroflex tongues, right? Cleaning robots can't clean up garbage outside the normal road surface. They can't find garbage in the flowers and on the grass. Shirai Kurachi explained very calmly, and then asked casually, Mr. Izir, do you like fighting or something? Hearing this kind of words, Qin Ren subconsciously lowered his voice and said in a deep voice, I also have a last resort. Oh, what's the reason? Because my ideal is to become a partner of justice. Oh, however, Shirai Kurachi didn't understand what he was saying. He just said oh, and then said something that surprised Qin Ren. Since you want to participate in this kind of task, come to my side first and see how you perform. Finally, I can get rid of this task of cleaning up garbage. Qin Ren wanted to cry but had no tears. He had been doing this job for 3 days. Because of this job, he had delayed finding gangsters to earn gold coins. He only got 5 yellow sand gold coins in the past few days. Where are you? Qin Ren immediately straightened his expression and asked immediately. Sounds a lot more positive. Then, after saying that, Shirai Kuroko told Qin Ren the address. Qin Ren carefully recalled the distance. It seemed that it would take 30 minutes to get there from here. By the way, Shirai, can't you just come and pick me up? I don't have that time. A bank robbery just happened here. I'm dealing with the follow-up matters. Bank robbery? Qin Ren was stunned, and then seemed to remember something. When was the robbery in the original book? Oh, it was something related to the fantasy hand, right? He took out his cell phone and took a look. July 15th. He didn't remember what time it was in the original book, nor did he know what the situation was. Okay, you'd better get here within 10 minutes. I have to continue to deal with the situation. After saying that, the other party hung up the phone. Qin Ren put away the walkie-talkie in silence after the call was hung up. Shirai Kuroko's attitude towards everyone except Misaka Mikoto was similar, and it was the same after he became a man. I can only use that. Twisting his wrist, Qin Ren turned his gaze to the flower bed next to him and stretched out his hand. Come. Under his thoughts, the sand in the flower bed suddenly surged, and pieces of mud and gravel flew out of the flower bed and surged towards Qin Ren, forming an irregular long board-shaped block of soil similar to a surfboard under Qin Ren's feet. Call me Rock Sparrow because he spent too much time saving yellow sand gold coins. He couldn't bear it, so he fumbled around and came up with this ability. Similar to Rock Sparrow's movement against the wall, he gathered sand under his feet, lifted himself up, and then controlled the sand to lift himself and move. Qin Ren stepped on it, and the sandboard sank slightly, but under the control of mana, it still floated in the air. Level 1% recovery speed. If the momentum value reaches 50%, the consumption and recovery speed of the sandboard flight can be balanced. But, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. Persuading People to be Good. Izir Qin. His current momentum value is only 10. Shurima, your emperor is here. The momentum value immediately rose to 20. The 10% additional mana recovery can also increase the duration for a long time. At least 10 minutes is no problem. Putting his palm into his trouser pocket again, Qin Ren's mana surged and drove the sandboard to move. Soon, within 5 minutes, Qin Ren arrived at the place where Shirai Kuroko said, "Wow, it looks really spectacular." In front of the bank, there was a long scratch on the gray asphalt road. It seemed that some powerful force had scratched a long groove on the road that was more than 10 centimeters deep, more than 20 centimeters wide, and more than 50 meters long. Broken gray asphalt blocks were scattered around, and a car overturned on the road. The guards were escorting several injured and depressed men into the car. There were some charred marks on their bodies. Qin Ren immediately thought of something. Turning his sight, Pao, brother, wearing the Tokuwadai school uniform, was standing with Hi brother and 2 other teenagers. The boy holding the ice cream is Hatsuharu Shiri from branch 177. When he first went to branch 177, he subconsciously looked for the girl wearing a wreath headband, and then found a boy in front of the computer licking ice cream while typing on the keyboard. Hatsuharu Shiri, masculine. At this time, Hatsuharu Shiri noticed his arrival and said to the boy next to him, "Tier, this is from our branch." Wait, Tier? Zair Master, do you have twins too? Zair Master, also known as Satenruiko, is a clothes-changing ability user and harem ability user. Just kidding, the actual ability is level 0 air control, which is the so-called powerless person. And his brother, Great Storm Master? While Qin Ren was thinking about the information about Satenruiko and Satenruiko, Shirai Kurachi noticed Qin Ren's arrival, walked to his side, and looked at the sandboard under his feet. "Izil, you came quickly. It is indeed a very convenient ability. It is much slower than your space movement." "Yes, it is very convenient for picking up garbage." Qin Ren glanced at him. "Is it solved? Then what? What should I do? What about the agreed battle?" Hearing this, Shirai Kurachi smiled and pointed to the road and said, "You are late. The matter has been solved by Master Misaka." Shirai Kurachi looked like a lackey. "So you want me to be a road repairman?" Qin Ren narrowed his eyes and turned his gaze to Misaka. Misaka on the other side. Noticing his gaze, the instigator scratched his face in embarrassment and turned his head away. Qin Ren stared at him silently. Then he remembered something. Then the absolute ability plan should have started at this time, right? So was it Brother Pao or Sister Pao who was cloned? He shook his head silently. This kind of thing was not something he should be in charge of with his current strength. What he could do was to try to guide the leader to pay attention to this matter. Qin Ren walked to the damaged asphalt road, took a look at the damaged road surface, put his hands in his pockets, and said expressionlessly, "By the way, Shirai, I can't repair this road surface." He can manipulate particles to move in various ways. It doesn't mean that only silica sand can be used, as long as it is of the right size. Anything that can be called sand can be used. Iron sand, silver sand, gold sand, carbon particles are all fine, and asphalt is also fine. It's not that it can't be repaired, but it's meaningless to want to repair this ditch. And it's also laborious. It's not a good feeling to use up all the blue. Imagine the feeling of being exhausted plus having a high fever and feeling weak all over. That's how he really felt after the blue was completely used up. Looking at the degree of damage, he can fill it up, but after filling it up, he still needs to compact it or something, so let's kill him. After saying that, without waiting for Shirai Hizi to answer, he waved his hand and turned away under the gaze of everyone. Let's notify the repair robot to come and repair it. It's better to persuade people to be kind than to repair the road here. Night. After completing the tasks of picking up trash and helping children, Qin Ren wandered in the alleys of the 7th school district. Speaking of which, during this period, he did not see any implementation of the absolute power user plan at all. In order to get closer to God, it is necessary to create a being beyond humans. the Absolute Power User, Level 6, and the Absolute Power User Evolution Plan appeared. After the precise calculation of the tree diagram designer, a satellite computer hanging in space, Accelerator, who ranked first among the 7 LV5 in the Academy City, can evolve to LV6 by killing Misaka Mikoto 128 times in 128 battlefields. However, because it is impossible to prepare 128 railguns, the experiment targets the sisters in the mass production power user plan carried out at the same time. The so-called sisters are clones of Misaka Mikoto, each with only LV2 abilities. According to the calculation results of the tree diagram designer, as long as 20,000 battlefields are prepared and Accelerator kills 20,000 Misaka sisters, the goal can be achieved. Although this is just a cover, it seems that half of the battlefield was set up in the research institute, and the remaining half was outdoors in the 7th school district. He couldn't remember it clearly, but he couldn't be like a fool and do this and that for his sisters. Even if Alistair didn't kill him, the group of people in the board of directors sent the Anbu to secretly kill him, and he would have nowhere to cry. Moreover, now that Misaka Mikoto's gender has changed to Misaka Mikoto, should Misaka Mikoto's clone be called Misaka Mikoto? Not to mention risking his life to save a group of men. Even if he risked his life to save a woman, he would not be willing. My life is more important than anyone else. A-lister is not easy to mess with. Although the real plan of the hanged girl is to fail the absolute ability user experiment and then let the clones scatter all over the world, but the hanged girl will not do it. But the board of directors may not necessarily not kill him. What's more, in this magical world, the purpose of the hanged girl has not changed. If Alistair's plan encounters any accidents because of his interference, he has no doubt that the hanged girl will not show any mercy when she kills him, regardless of whether he is a real gemstone or not. If he wants to have the right to speak, he must at least have the strength. At the very least, the ability he has shown now, which is similar to level 3, does not give him the right to speak. At least he must have the strength of Accelerator to be taken seriously by Alistair. While he was wandering in the alleys looking for bad boys who had not been beaten by him, he suddenly heard a voice. "What do you want to do?" This voice seemed a little familiar. "Aren't you afraid of the discipline committee?" The girl was shaking. Wait, this voice. In the alley, several bad boys surrounded a thin girl and laughed at his words. Disciplinary committee member? The kind who only comes to deal with the incident after it happens? So what if you are the disciplinary committee member? Ha ha ha. If you have the guts, knock us down. Academy City is a place where the strong prey on the weak. Little sister, just hand over the money. We are a little short of money recently. When Qin Ren walked into the alley, he saw 7 or 8 bad boys surrounding a girl with short brown hair. He walked out with his hands in his pockets and looked at the girl surrounded by bad boys. Misaka Mikoto is commonly known as Misaka Mikoto. By the way, it seems that when Misaka Mikoto is in a bad mood, she often pretends to be a weak girl, goes to remote places, conducts fishing enforcement, and uses bad boys as a tool to vent her anger. Well, there should be nothing strange about this sentence. There is no plot that can be published. Who are you? Misaka Mikoto retorted subconsciously, looking at Qin Ren's appearance, and recalled, but she didn't find the corresponding role in her memory. I am Izir Qin, and I have had some dealings with Misaka Suekoto. Oh, brother's friend? Misaka Mikoto nodded suddenly. Well, that's it. Qin Ren scratched the back of his neck and cast his eyes lazily at the other bad boys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is only one I haven't seen. You are? When the group of bad boys saw Qin Ren, their eyes widened. It was this guy. It was this guy who was running around in various places during this period. Whenever he saw them, he would beat them up without saying anything, and knock them unconscious, and then say that he was a partner of justice, a weirdo who came to persuade them to be kind. Blonde beater, grumpy blonde man, partner of justice, live mentor. Except for the guy who had never seen Qin Ren, everyone else shouted out various titles. Can't you give me a nice name, like Desert Emperor or Yellow Sand Tyrant? Qin Ren urged his magic power helplessly, and the wall separated gravel. Countless gravel flowed around Qin Ren, surging like water, and made a rustling sound during the friction. The pieces of gravel floating and surging in the air, like a sandstorm, made him look very imposing. Qin Ren smiled slightly, and then put on the discipline committee armband on his hand. You are bullying in school, and you also want to rob. I advise you to be kind. As he said, he did not forget to greet Misaka Mikoto, who was a little stunned. Ah, that little sister who was flirting. You can deal with the others as you like, and leave the third person on your left to me. I have never seen him. I want to beat him up. No, I want to persuade them to be kind. You said it. You said you wanted to beat him up, because I have never seen him. So I want to beat him up. While the bad guys were panicking, they couldn't help but feel a sense of complaint. Chapter 9. Izir Qin never lies. Rao was Misaka Mikan, who couldn't respond. Because I haven't seen it. Do I want to beat me? But what is the logic of this? The boy's body is fixed in front of the Qin people. He found an excuse, then picked up his fist, and fisted hard on the face of the bad teenager. Qin Ren looked at the G-level sandbag and the inventory and nodded with a little satisfaction. To confirm, Qin Ren looked at the other 6 bad boys with a bad look. I think you have all been beaten by me, right? The 6 bad boys suddenly remembered a rumor. This violent blonde man would beat people without reason, and his reasons were messy, which were all made up on the spur of the moment and were very rough. But it seems that this man has no interest in beating people again after beating them once. Thinking of this, the bad boys nodded hurriedly. Yes, yes, yes. Big brother, you beat me. 3 days ago, I was beaten too. It was last Friday. And me, I was beaten yesterday. You see, there is still a bandage on my face. I was knocked unconscious by the thing you threw at that time. Me too. As the bad boys spoke, Qin Ren also remembered the places where the other party was beaten. Oh, I see. Qin Ren looked at these bad boys with smirks on their faces. There was no benefit, and he didn't have the leisure to beat them up. By the way, you can change your name for me. Something like irritable blonde man, blonde beater, righteous partner. It's very ugly. Yes, yes, but isn't the last one what you often call yourself? After saying this, Qin Ren also remembered, but it was just a joke. He didn't want to use this title. How about the name of Czar? Yes, Brother Czar, or Sandstorm sounds better. Brother Sandstorm. Well, why not use Crazy Sand? Brother Crazy Sand. The bad boys cooperated very well and called him brother. Hey, Misaka Mikoto had never expected the situation to turn out like this. He stood there with a weird look on his face. What's going on? Oh, I almost forgot. Qin Ren glanced at him. Little brother, if you still want to teach them a lesson, go ahead. I have something else to do, so I'm leaving first. There didn't seem to be many bad boys in this area that he didn't know. Oh, wait a minute. It stands to reason that guys who are also bad boys should be well informed about where there are more bad boys. Hey, you guys, here, Brother Kuangsha. Where are there more bad boys? The stronger the better, preferably those with special abilities. I'm going to persuade them to be kind. Who would believe that? Hearing this question, the bad boys who knew the rumors about Qin Ren immediately understood what Qin Ren wanted to do. After complaining in their hearts, they drew a cross for those bad boys, and then spit out the information they knew without hesitation. There should be a lot of them in the 10th district. There are also some gathered near the old shops in the 8th district. In the 7th district, there are often some near the bridge. Oh, I see, thanks. After hearing the information they exposed, Qin Ren smiled and waved, then put his hands back in his pockets and turned to walk out of the alley. Bon voyage, Brother Czar. The farewell voices of the delinquents came from behind him. These people are quite fun, Qin Ren thought as he walked. Before he walked far, Misaka Mikoto's voice came from behind him. Hey, wait a minute. Qin Ren stopped and turned his head in confusion. What's wrong? Flirting little sister? Aren't you going to teach the delinquents a lesson? Who is the little sister? Misaka Mikoto crossed her arms and looked at Qin Ren with dissatisfaction. Why is this man so familiar? Because your brother is called Discharge Little Brother, so you are Discharge Little Sister. Misaka Mikoto widened her eyes. Compared with this name, she suddenly felt that the name Discharge Junior High School Girl given to her by a hedgehog-headed boy was actually quite nice. Okay, Discharge Little Sister, I'll leave first. Huh? It is the task of the discipline committee to counsel the delinquents. This is the task of the discipline committee. They should provide psychological counseling to the delinquents, persuade them to be good, let them reform, become good young people in the new century, abide by the law, and love peace. Qin Ren paused and said seriously, "You are not a discipline committee member. It is called violence to hit people. This time, just pretend that I didn't see it. You can send them to the hospital and I won't pursue you." Misaka Mikoto, who was not familiar with Qin Ren's personality, was frightened by his serious look. Taking advantage of this moment, Qin Ren was ready to run away. "Goodbye, little sister. Be careful when you go back to the dormitory. Don't run into the hedgehog-headed boy." Hedgehog-headed boy. Hey, wait a minute. Do you know before Misaka Mikoto could say anything else, Qin Ren manipulated the gray-black quicksand formed by the concrete to form a sandboard, stepped on it, and left quickly under Misaka Mikoto's gaze. Not long after, at the edge of the 7th school district, next to the bridge, next to a small building that has not been fully built, a group of young men and women were gathering together. "Take it. This is a good thing that can improve your ability." I know. The boy who looked like a student bit his lip and took an item that looked like an MP3. "Thank you for your patronage." Hahaha. Looking at the other party's nervous face, the green-haired young man with a rogue look laughed a few times, and his companions behind him also laughed out loud. When Qin Ren came to the gathering place of the bad guys who were impressed by his personality charm, he heard such a conversation. "Who is it?" Before Qin Ren stepped on the sandboard and came to the corner, he was discovered by the other party. "Someone is over there." A short-haired young man had a gleam in his eyes, and then pointed in Qin Ren's direction and shouted. And Qin Ren also heard this voice. Without thinking too much, he drove his magic power and controlled the gravel to condense around his body. Then, more than 10 people appeared in front of Qin Ren. Wow, there are so many people. He was also a little surprised that there were so many bad guys here. "What are you doing here, kid?" The green-haired bad guy who seemed to be the boss seemed to be much more relaxed when he saw that Qin Ren was the only one. Qin Ren still put his hands in his pockets, raised his head slightly, and thought for a moment. "Oh, right, I'm here to find someone." Find someone? Who? Who of you knows him?" The green-haired guy turned his head and glanced at his companions, but everyone else shook their heads. And the student who traded with him also shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. Seeing that everyone shook their heads, the green-haired young man looked at Qin Ren with an unfriendly expression. "Boy, you dare to play tricks on me? Are you looking for a fight?" Then, he raised his hand in front of his eyes, and flames came out of his hand. "Oh, a person with the ability to get angry? If you deal with flames, you have to be careful not to get burned. If your clothes are burned, you have to buy new ones. The prices in Academy City are so high." Hahaha. "Are you scared?" Seeing that Qin Ren didn't say anything, the green-haired young man laughed. "My current ability is level 3, a strong ability user." As if to emphasize his own strength, the green-haired young man deliberately emphasized the words level 3 inches and strong ability user, because after gaining something, or making what you think is a big progress in something, you will want to show off like a little kid. Qin Ren can certainly understand this deliberately emphasized tone. "Isn't it just level 3? What are you showing off?" "Show off? What did you suddenly gain? Fantasy hand?" "So that's it, it's the fantasy hand." Qin Ren looked at the green-haired young man and suddenly understood. "My current ability level is assessed as LV3. If I fight against a LV3, I will have no problem winning if I operate better." "Oh, right? You dare to be so arrogant in front of me when you are just a LV3. Qin Ren looked down on me, as if the group of people in front of him were just a group of ants. Then, he took a step forward. While stepping forward, he drove his magic power, and the sand flew up and splashed to both sides with a huge momentum. It looked like he crushed the ground with one foot and used his strength to shake the sand away. What? This huge momentum made the green-haired man tense. "Is it LV4? It can't be LV5. How is it possible? There are only 7 LV5s in Academy City. That must be LV4. This kind of power can't be LV3 at all." The green-haired young man swallowed his saliva when he heard his companion's slightly fearful conversation behind him. "Even if it's level 4, It's impossible to deal with so many of us. In order to convince himself and to boost the morale of his men, the green-haired young man couldn't help but shout. However, when he shouted this sentence, Qin Ren took another step forward, sand and soil splashed, and a deep footprint appeared under Qin Ren's feet. Step by step, Qin Ren approached him expressionlessly, and with every step he took, countless sand was shaken away. Seeing this scene, the words that the green-haired young man said to boost his momentum were no longer convincing. He himself was frightened and took a few steps back. His lack of concentration caused the flame in his hand to fluctuate unsteadily. "You, don't come over here." However, when he was only 1 meter away from him, Qin Ren stopped and hooked his finger at the green-haired young man expressionlessly. "You, come here. I'll ask you about someone. If you know where he is, I'll let you go." After saying that, Qin Ren took out his mobile phone with his left hand, held the phone with one hand, and swiped his thumb on the screen, looking like he was looking for photos. "Oh, okay." The green-haired young man looked at Qin Ren's expression and relaxed a little. He came closer and was about to look at Qin Ren's phone to see who he wanted to contact. "I seem to have seen this hedgehog head somewhere before." The phone screen showed a hedgehog-headed young man wearing a white shirt. However, the green-haired man did not notice that when his attention shifted to Qin Ren's phone, pieces of quicksand flew up from the ground and condensed on his right hand to form an armor. Then, Qin Ren punched the green-haired young man in the head with an expressionless face. Chapter 10, The Africans Smuggled to Izir Qin. "Oh, this guy is ... As soon as Greenhair remembered who this guy was, he felt a headache, his consciousness blurred, and he was knocked unconscious by Qin Ren. When Greenhair was knocked down, a bronze-yellow sandbag instantly appeared in Qin Ren's inventory. In the lower right corner of the bag, there was a number of apostrophe plus 37% apostrophe. His momentum value just now was 37. Can you only get a bronze-yellow sandbag at level 3? Qin Ren shook his arm and said with some regret. Qin Ren's behavior made those bad guys stunned. You didn't say?" Qin Ren twisted his wrist. "I don't like him, so I beat him up. Do you have any objection?" Without waiting for the other party to answer, he nodded to himself. "You have an objection, right?" The yellow sand on the ground rose up, rolling up a small sandstorm, covering all the people. "What happened?" Sakaki, use your ability quickly. "I got sand in my eyes. It doesn't work." Suddenly a scream sounded, making the bad guys panic. "Sakaki, what happened to you?" Screams rang out, and when the yellow sand dissipated, everyone was lying on the ground, regardless of men or women. "Call it today." Qin Ren clapped his hands and dissipated the sand armor covering his arms. Only 40% of the mana was left. It's still a bit weak now, but looking at the 2 rows of yellow sandbags in the inventory, with yellow sand gold coins, you can exchange skills, enhance attributes, and become stronger. "Oh, by the way, I have to call the police and ask the security guards to come over." Then, Qin Ren dialed the phone skillfully. "Hello, there are bad youths fighting each other here. They seem to be trading something suspicious. I suspect it's drugs, and they also tried to attack me." Qin Ren kept talking nonsense in his tone. After notifying the guard, he called the hospital. "Yes, in the 7th district, on the east side, near the bridge, there is a building that has not been fully built." "Are the injuries serious?" "Not serious, they just fainted, and 2 people ran away." "I am the discipline committee member of the 177th branch. I have notified the guard." Okay, please come quickly." After hanging up the phone, Qin Ren controlled the sand to put the phone back in his pocket, feeling the comfort brought by the rapid recovery of mana, with his hands in his pockets, looking up at the sky, waiting for the guard and the hospital to arrive. It's great to have the identity of a discipline committee member. At this time, Qin Ren heard a voice. Izir, is it Izir? Why are you here? Wow, why are so many people lying here? Is this a fight?" Qin Ren turned his head and saw a girl walking to the alley. It's you, the leader's sister. I told you not to call me the leader's sister. This name is too weird." The person who appeared in front of Qin Ren was Kamijumaki. "Okay, leader's sister, I understand, leader's sister." Hey, Izir, This name is really weird. I'm a girl after all, and this name doesn't sound good at all. Ah, girl, no matter how you look at it, you look like a feminized leader. Hey, Izir, are you still doubting me? Although my personality is a little weird, I am really a woman. Even though my hairstyle is similar to Tmi's, I am indeed his sister, not his brother. Oh. Believe me, I am a female. Oh. After the security guards arrived and Qin Ren handed over the prisoners to the security guards, he returned to the dormitory with Kamijutma and Maki. Because they were in the same school, he lived on the floor above Kamiju's dormitory, the 8th floor, the top floor, by Izir. See you tomorrow. After saying goodbye to the leader's sister, he returned to the dormitory. After opening the door, the first thing he looked at was the windowsill. Next to his windowsill, there were 2 rows of cactus pots such as Christmas cactus. There were also 2 large wool columns in the room, which were also from the cactus family, and the pots were filled with sandy loam. Speaking of which, it seems that the leader's family is quite wealthy. After closing the door, Qin Ren muttered to himself, driving his magic power to control the sand from his pocket to fly into the cactus pot by the window. Academy City will give students a living allowance, which will be given according to the level of their abilities. Every student has it, so basically, if you live here, you will not have to worry about food and clothing if you don't spend lavishly. However, in the original work, because Kamiju transformed his luck into peach blossom luck, he was usually unlucky, so he developed the ability to be frugal. As for Qin Ren, he didn't know whether the living allowance given to him by Academy City was too much or too little. But he compared it and found that as a LV3, the living allowance given to him was still a lot. At least, after buying computers, mobile phones and various high-tech products in the months since he came here, he still had enough to eat. As a Moonlight clan, there is no concept of saving money. How much money does a LV5 have? Forget it. None of this is important. Qin Ren took a shower, then lay on the bed, closed his eyes, and began to open the bag of gold coins in the illusory yellow sand space. Speaking of which, after defeating all 14 people, only the green-haired man and the other 2 gave him an F-level yellow sand bag, and the others were all black iron bags. After opening the 11 G-level bags and obtaining 11 yellow sand gold coins as expected, his gold coins reached 53, the remaining 3. 110. How many can you get? When he killed the green-haired man, his momentum value was 37. After killing the green-haired man, after fighting with the remaining people, his momentum value became 45 at most. The first bag was plus 37%, the second was 42%, and the third was 44%. It's time to verify the bloodline. The first one, you got 4 yellow sand gold coins, that is to say, 3 were opened and 1 was added. The second one, you got 3 yellow sand gold coins, you got 1 G-level certificate. Was it added or not? Shurima should correspond to the Middle East, right? It should correspond to Egypt, right? Why? It seems that Egypt is part of Africa. African bloodline. Confirmed. The third one, you have obtained 11 yellow sand gold coins. Hey, I sneaked across the border. Qin Ren looked at the 71 in the gold coin column and nodded with satisfaction. I should have found the ability user first. Now it's time to exchange skills. The exciting moment has come. As a die-hard player of Huangji, what is the most important skill of Huangji? It must be W. If you don't learn W, you can't learn Q and E. As for the passive skill, you can build a sun disk and attack. In the fan game he made, he changed the passive skill so that it can be summoned as long as there are building ruins, and even directly condensed sand can be built, but the mana consumption is higher than the ultimate skill. As for the Forbidden Army wall, let's exchange W first. As he said, he opened, exchange, and found Izir's skills. Sand Soldier Appearance, G, passive, gain 60% increased attack speed. Active, condense a yellow sand soldier, which continuously consumes mana. The farther the yellow sand soldier is from the user, the greater the consumption. The strength of each attribute of the sand soldier is G, and the additional strength is affected by the magic power. The maximum additional strength is G. Exchange price, 50 yellow sand gold coins, reduced by 50% with excitement. Qin Ren chose to exchange. Buzz, a sense of trance came, and something seemed to awaken in the body, and the body was slightly hot, just like the inheritance in the blood. A power revived along with the memory. Chapter 11. Expressionless Izir Qin. How to create yellow sand soldiers, how to command them to act. As if he had done it thousands of times, Qin Ren opened his eyes and raised his arms. Just like modeling, every detail of the yellow sand soldiers appeared in his mind, and then, a ball of yellow sand poured out from the several cactus pots in the window, and on the surrounding metal products. Fine iron sand separated and gathered together to form a human figure, wearing a sand-yellow armor, wearing a Y-shaped face-revealing helmet similar to Pantheon. The red cloak trembled slightly, and the metal spear in his hand was tightly held in his hand. When seeing this yellow sand soldier, Qin Ren's first reaction was to look at his metal armor and weapons. Wait a minute, these metal particles are… Qin Ren turned his eyes to his computer case. My wife is so seriously injured. The computer case shell has almost completely disappeared, and the motherboard, hard drive, and all the metal parts inside have been damaged because of the extraction of metal particles. No wonder the mana consumption is so high. The mana consumption of stripping metal particles from solid metal objects is more than 10 times higher than that of directly obtaining loose particles. He is almost out of mana. Bang! Qin Ren slapped himself in the face, and he subconsciously extracted the surrounding solid particles according to the model of the yellow sand soldier in his mind. My hard drive, eh? Wait a minute. It seems that after he came to this world, there is nothing particularly important in the computer hard drive, and it seems that it doesn't matter if it is broken. Thinking of this, Qin Ren felt much more comfortable. Then, he stood up and walked towards the sand soldier standing in front of him with a spear in his hand. Qin Ren could feel that there was a surge of mana in the body of the yellow sand soldier. This was from his mana. This mana was maintaining the existence of the yellow sand soldier. Qin Ren could input more mana as energy to maintain his existence, or he could withdraw the mana and disperse the yellow sand soldiers. It was also possible. Qin Ren thought about the description of the skill and his own setting formula in the game. In fact, because his math was not particularly good, he also set the damage formula very simply. To put it bluntly, it means that when he uses the normal amount of mana to condense the yellow sand soldier, the yellow sand soldier's physical strength is G level. If it exceeds this amount, the yellow sand soldier's body will become stronger, and vice versa. This is roughly what it means, and after it becomes a reality, the effect is similar. Qin Ren looked around and glanced at the computer that was already mostly broken. Forget it. It's broken anyway and can't be repaired. He drove the mana again, visualizing the figure of the yellow sand soldier, and then the remaining sandy loam in the potted plant flew out, and the metal particles in the computer case were gradually peeled off, forming a second yellow sand soldier in front of Qin Ren's eyes. However, because the amount of sand was less than the first one, the second yellow sand soldier looked much thinner. Moreover, consumption. Qin Ren looked at the completely scrapped chassis. Those metal particles were fixed together with other solids. Extracting and separating them was more difficult than extracting sandy loam to form quicksand, and it's so heavy. His current level of Shurima blood can only barely control about 75 kilograms of quicksand, and the weight of these two yellow sand soldiers has exceeded 130 kilograms. This is because when he created the yellow sand soldiers, he deliberately hollowed out the inside of the yellow sand soldiers, that is, the inside of these two yellow sand soldiers is empty. But even so, he couldn't continue to control it. With a slight sound, the bodies of the two yellow sand soldiers disintegrated directly, and Qin Ren only had 20% of his mana left, which also stopped decreasing and turned to rise. Qin Ren breathed a sigh of relief and looked out the window. With the means of the upside-down peeping man, the hovering circuits all over the academy city, they should have seen him making the yellow sand soldiers, right? But this shouldn't be a big deal. At least the upside-down man won't have any big reaction because of this. The next day, Discipline Committee 177 branch. Qin Ren leaned against the table, his hands in his pockets. The quicksand formed a white palm, picked up a cup and put it to his mouth. He looked at the boy who was sitting in front of the computer. licking his ice cream and typing away on the keyboard. Originally, the person in front of the computer should have been the short-haired girl wearing a wreath headband. Unlike the three pairs of twins from the leader, the sister of the gun, and the black family, the Hatsuharu here did not have a twin brother. Hatsuharu was a boy. Noticing his gaze, Hatsuharu Shiri, turned his head to look at Qin Ren and asked in some confusion, "Mr. Izil, won't the sand fall into the cup?" Qin Ren sighed in his heart, but his face was still very calm. "This is sugar, huh? Sand, sugar?" Hatsuharu Shiri said, and then retrieved Qin Ren's information at extremely fast speed. The ability is called telekinetic particles. The full name is clustered telekinetic particle control, which can control the floating of solid particles with a particle size of 0.03 mm to 4 mm, with a total control weight of 100 kg to 115 kg and a maximum load of 150 kg. Under the maximum load, it can last for 150s on July 1st. Assessment level, LV3 strong ability user. At this moment, a girl's voice sounded behind her. In geology, particles with a particle size of 0.004 to 0.0625 mm are called mud. Particles with a particle size of 0.0625 to 2 mm are called sand. Particles with a diameter of 2 to 64 mm are called gravel. A girl with wavy hair stood behind Hatsuharu Shiri and explained to him. Then she turned her head and looked at Qin Ren. "Mr. Izil, am I right? How can I know?" He doesn't remember this knowledge at all. He only has a vague feeling about the size of particles that can be controlled. Theoretically, particles larger than 4 mm can also be controlled, but it is more difficult to control, which means that the cost performance is not high. However, the momentum cannot be weakened at this time, otherwise, the health value will drop. Qin Ren nodded expressionlessly, as if he understood this knowledge very well. "You are right. You are worthy of being my personal assistant." Hearing this, the girl straightened her chest and looked proud. However, the name of the ability to move particles is not domineering at all. Compared with the Desert Emperor, it is weaker. It can be called sandstorm or crazy sand. Qin Ren maintained an expressionless state that could bring him momentum, but he couldn't help but complain in his heart. At the side, Shirikurachi crossed his arms, closed one eye and said, "Kuchi, why do you always run to branch 177? Why don't you go back to your branch 155? Although she said so, she also understood why this girl always ran here. "Why are you looking at me?" Qin Ren was a little puzzled by Shirikurachi's gaze. "Forget it." Shirikurachi shook his head. He couldn't understand such an obvious hint. Man. At this time, Hatsuharu Shiki, who was startled by Kachiki Miru, also called up Kachiki Miru's information. Kachiki Miru, the ability of the Discipline Committee of Branch 163 is memory increase and decrease. She can strengthen and weaken her own memory, convert instantaneous memory and short-term memory into long-term memory, or convert long-term memory into short-term memory and instantaneous memory. The ability is rated as level 3. What a powerful ability! Hatsuharu Shiki blinked and said in amazement. "It's not that easy to use. If you use it too much, you will have a headache." Kachiki Miru shook her head. Others envy her ability, but she knows her own business and can only use it a few times a day. Using it too much will give her a headache. However, she likes this ability very much, strengthening happy memories and weakening unhappy memories. It is precisely because of this that she is a very optimistic girl. So that's it. Memory ability. The classification of abilities in Academy City is not based on combat effectiveness, but on versatility, strength, etc. for comprehensive evaluation. Level 3 is the level that can be used in broad convenience in daily life. Level 4 is the level that reflects tactical value in the army. However, Qin Ren thought of a question. "Milu, why do you want to follow me?" At first, he was just joking about asking her to be a follower, but he didn't expect that the other party would take it seriously and really become his follower. "Why?" Kachiki Miru tilted her head in confusion, then pointed her finger at her cheek and said, with a blush on her face, "Because Mr. Izil looks like my father." Huh? What kind of bloody reason is this? Are you a father control girl? Qin Ren looked at the somewhat embarrassed Kachiki Maru and asked carefully, Kachiki, where is your father? My father? Kachiki Maru blinked. He told me last week that they recently went to the Art Academy City. Chapter 12 A Real Man Never Looks Back. In the world of Magical Index, the Qin City is a huge artificial island with a diameter of 10 kilometers built on a rocky belt in the sea 50 kilometers off the west coast of California, USA. It is also a force on the scientific side. As for Qin Ren, he only thought of Qin City seems to be in the United States, right? But fortunately, it is not a bloody plot where the father died and saw that he looked like his father and so on. By the way, Senior Shirai, Mr. Izir, I'm going to apply to transfer to this branch. Just when Kachiki Maru wanted to say something, the door of the branch studio was opened, and a tall man with short hair and glasses rushed in. Shirai, Hatsuharu, Izir, and this I'm Kachiki Maru from branch 163. What happened? Hello, I'm Gufachiwai. The man with glasses briefly greeted everyone and said to the others, another explosion has occurred. The headquarters has detected the appearance of graviton acceleration and asked the nearby discipline committee members to rush to the scene. I'm going to take people there. Shirai, Izir, you guys come with me too. Yes. Okay. Shirai Kurachi and Qin Ren nodded. After asking about the location, Shirai Kurachi instantly disappeared from the spot. Can't you use space teleportation to take me with you? After complaining in his heart, Qin Ren twisted his wrist and waved his arm. The sandy loam in the potted plants he had specially moved to the branch surged and condensed into a sandboard under his feet, lifting him off the ground. Under the gaze of everyone, Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets and stepped on the sandboard to leave the discipline committee branch. Kachiki Maru blinked and followed him. Kachiki-san, where are you going? I'm going with Mr. Izir. When Qin Ren arrived at the scene, he saw many discipline committee members appear near this large shopping mall called 7th Mist. A group of people had been evacuated from the mall, and the discipline committee members holding explosion-proof shields arrived at the scene one after another under the leadership of Gufachiwai and entered the mall. Qin Ren thought about it, dispersed the sandboard, put on the discipline committee member's armband, and wandered around the crowd. He remembered, what was that person called? Anyway, it was a man with glasses, the culprit of this Emptykin explosion case. However, the difference between reality and the screen, as well as the gender change, made him almost fail to recognize characters like Shirai Kuritoshi and Misaka Mikoto. He felt that it was not easy to recognize a plain-looking man with glasses. All he saw were white thighs and all kinds of short skirts. No, I'm looking for a man with glasses, not white thighs. Wait. What if he has changed his gender? Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets and looked up at the sky. He suddenly remembered something, that is, the prisoner whose name he didn't know seemed to have a deep prejudice against the discipline committee. Then he stopped and searched the crowd. Is there anyone who will show a resentful expression or a vengeful malicious smile when seeing the discipline committee? Then, according to this condition, he fixed his sight on a girl with glasses who was wearing headphones and carrying a satchel-style backpack on her left shoulder. The other party looked at the discipline committee members who entered the mall with large explosion-proof shields and showed a vengeful smile. Oh, I found it. It's a woman as expected. It's a gender change as expected. According to the original story, the man with glasses who made the explosion and injured people was a person who suffered from school violence. If he was just suffering from school violence, he would undoubtedly be the one who should be sympathized with. However, after he used his ability to improve, the person he wanted to retaliate against was not the one who bullied him, but the discipline committee member. He resented why the discipline committee member came so late, and wondered why the discipline committee member did not protect him all the time. He suffered from school violence, but he did not try to solve it, nor did he resist, and he accepted it. When others helped him, he blamed others for not helping him earlier, not to mention that the discipline committee member was just a volunteer. Even if he was not a volunteer, he wondered why the discipline committee member did not come at the first time. It would take time to call the police and rush to the scene, not to mention that this idiot did not call the police at all, and accepted it like a fool. He was resented for helping him, and then he attacked the discipline committee member who helped him, and used his ability to make bombs to hurt the discipline committee member. 7 discipline committee members were injured, and several were seriously injured and almost died. If it were not for Dr. Frog, those few might have died. To put it bluntly, this kind of person is the scum of society. It is better not to help him, just kill him directly. Even if he becomes a woman, he is still a scum. Looking at the girls in front of the girl with glasses, Qin Ren paused slightly. If it was a boy with glasses, he could use some excuse like pervert, but he has become a woman. Pervert? Hey, that pervert. Then, he squeezed through the crowd and walked to the side of the girl with glasses, then looked at the girl with glasses and said expressionlessly, "What are you doing? Show me your student's proof." The girl with glasses paid attention to him when Qin Ren was talking, but when she heard the voice, she didn't think that she was being talked about. However, the people around who heard the shouting of the discipline committee member took action and dispersed a little, looking at Qin Ren's side vigilantly, and followed Qin Ren's line of sight to look at the girl with glasses. He said, "Pervert? What did the woman do? Didn't you hear it was a pervert? What else can a pervert do? Of course." "Damn, I didn't see it." Listening to the discussion of several male students, the girl with glasses realized that the other party was referring to herself. The girl widened her eyes and looked at Qin Ren, who was 1.88 meters tall and more than a head taller than her. What happened?" "Of course it's you." Qin Ren looked at her expressionlessly. "Show me your ID. What's your name?" Qin Ren asked indifferently. "I didn't do anything." The girl with eyes did not answer her name. Her face was uncertain, ashamed, incredulous, and disgusted. "I asked you what your name is?" Qin Ren asked again. Her name is Ji Luchoshi." As the real criminal of the bombing, she was actually a little panicked, and her slightly panicked expression, no matter who saw it, felt abnormal, although she tried hard to make herself look normal. In order to show that she did nothing, she was about to take out her right hand holding the MP3 in her pocket. However, at this time, she saw that the other party took a few steps back, looking like he was attacked. There was also a piece of quicksand surging on his chest, forming an inward concave appearance, as if he was attacked. What happened? Ji Lucha was a little confused, but at this time, she heard the other party say, "Suspicious actions. Attack the discipline committee member." The next moment, she felt her hands tighten. When she looked down, countless grains of sand separated from the asphalt road and bound her hands in a rotating and entangled manner. Damn it! A feeling of being wronged emerged in her heart, but she didn't care that her ability had caused more than a dozen discipline committee members to be injured. Her palm reached out to the school bag on her left shoulder, and Ji Lucha was about to use her ability. Her original ability was LV2 Quantum Speed Change, but now, her ability has been strengthened to LV4, which can use aluminum as raw material, maintain the number of gravitons, greatly increase the speed, and then spread it around instantly. In short, it is the ability to turn aluminum into a bomb. She has gradually mastered this powerful power, and no one can bully her. However, Qin Ren would not give him a chance to act. Ji Luchu suddenly found that her hands had been covered by a piece of quicksand, and the strong pressure bound her hands, making it difficult for her arms to move. Moreover, there was a tingling sensation. When using their abilities, the superpowers in Academy City have to make complex calculations, and various sensory interferences, especially interferences such as pain, can greatly interfere with the other party's abilities. Moreover, this person has used the fantasy hand to improve the level of his abilities, and has not yet fully adapted to his abilities, so the interference of pain is even greater. And don't think about using your abilities to resist. I have controlled the sand to cover your hands. Moreover, there are metal particles in the sand. I have made them form spikes. As long as you dare to use your abilities, these metal spikes will pierce your skin, and then I will control the metal particles to wreak havoc in your body and damage your nerves. For the rest of your life, you can only lie in bed. Qin Ren explained expressionlessly and in a threatening tone. Naked threat. As long as she dared to resist, she would become disabled. Although Qin Ren did not know the specific location of the nerves, the formation of metal spikes was not fake. If you pierce them randomly, you can always damage the nerves, right? For other people and Ji Luchushi, this threat is quite powerful. After hearing this, Ji Luchushi had to stop. The other onlookers could not help but step back a few steps due to Qin Ren's cruel description. There was a little more fear in their eyes when they looked at Qin Ren. This man is too vicious. Is he really a member of the discipline committee? Too cruel, too ruthless, too threatening a girl like this. Huh? Why did the momentum value increase? Because it was too noisy. Qin Ren did not hear the whispers, and found that the momentum value increased extra, and he couldn't help but feel a little confused. At this time, a voice came from behind Qin Ren. Mr. Izir Qin Ren turned his head and saw an optimistic girl with wavy hair, that is, Kachiki Miru, who inexplicably became his follower, jogging all the way. At this time, Ji Luchushi became more and more panicked, because his body was tied up. He was afraid of Qin Ren's words, and thought that he was actually a bomb demon. The consequences of being caught, and various uneasy and fearful complex emotions mixed together, and his thoughts were already a little confused. Qin Ren turned his head away from her behavior, which ignited her suppressed resistance. It's over if I get caught. She glanced at her school bag, then gritted her teeth and reached into the bag, ready to take out the aluminum products in the bag and use her ability to launch an explosive attack. But when she made the move, Qin Ren smiled in his heart. Then, everyone saw countless asphalt sand grains floating up on the asphalt ground, and condensed into a quicksand soldier wearing armor and holding a spear behind Ji Luchushi. When Ji Luchushi turned her head to observe in confusion because of everyone's exclamation, the yellow sand soldier just raised his spear and hit her head with the gun. Ji Luchushi was knocked unconscious and fell to the ground. He used sand to control the other party, and he could sense the other party's movements through the sand. And Qin Ren's behavior of real men never look back and explode made his momentum value rise again. At the same time, I also received the admiring look from Miru Kachiki. Mr. Izir is amazing. P.S. Actually, I wanted to use the title of the book as Desert Emperor or Desert Empire, but these two titles have already been used. Oats. Chapter 13 Daily Izir Qin. After knocking down Ji Luchushi, Qin Ren did not do much, because, if he just pulled this guy out and said she was a bomb demon, there was no way to explain it. Looking around, the people around him seemed to be still frightened by his threatening speech just now, and did not dare to approach him. Only 2 discipline committee members came over. What happened, Izir? This person has the behavior of a pervert. Izir Qin's face was not red, and he lied skillfully. When I asked her to tell her name and show her ID, she hesitated and was unwilling to answer and show it, and tried to use her ability to attack me. Mr. Izir, are you not injured? Hearing that he was attacked, the 2 discipline committee members had not spoken yet, and Kachiki Miru next to him asked nervously, "It's okay, I'm very strong. Don't worry." Qin Ren nodded to the concern of the girl, and then said to the 2 discipline committee members next to him, "Oh, by the way, this person has a lot of aluminum products in his bag." Aluminum products. The 2 discipline committee members were a little confused, but they didn't think of anything. "Okay, I didn't even think of that. Maybe it's something she needs to activate her ability." Kachiki Miru thought for a moment, then said, "For example, a water flow ability user would carry a water cup with him, and Mr. Izir would also carry sand in his pocket, right?" She turned her head and looked at Qin Ren. "Good job." Qin Ren gave her a thumbs up in his heart, but there was still no expression on his face. He just nodded and said calmly, "Yes." Her behavior was too panic. I suspect that she might have something to do with the button this time. It was as if he had thought of saying this a long time ago. "I see." The 2 also understood. "Then let's take him to the guard first." Qin Ren couldn't help but be silent for a while as he watched the 2 leave. "What should I do now? Open the bag?" Although I defeated this suspicious girl with glasses, the bag I got was still E level, not F level. "You got 12 yellow sand gold coins, yeah? Smuggling again? Cool. But there is no certificate." As I said before, the certificate is used to upgrade skills and attributes. To upgrade a G-level skill or attribute to F level, 1000 points and 10 G-level certificates are required. Speaking of which, he felt that his movements seemed to be much more agile than the past few days. "Why, He hadn't done anything these days. Qin Ren thought about it and finally found the reason. Sand soldiers appeared. Passive. Gain 60% increased attack speed. Does the attack speed in reality mean that the reaction becomes more agile? I see. Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets and nodded in a daze. What do you mean, Mr. Izil? Kachiki Miru next to him was a little puzzled. At this moment, she seemed to notice something, pointed to the door of the 7th Mist Mall, and said to Qin Ren, Mr. Izil, Shirai Sr. and the others are coming out. Qin Ren turned his gaze and saw Shirai Kurachi, Misaka Suekoto, Kamijutma, a little girl, and a girl walking out together. Speaking of which, why does Lei also have a brother? The leader has a sister, Misaka Mikoto has a brother, and Kuroko has a brother, so why does Tearsama also have a brother named Tearsama? Are you also the protagonist? This is a question that he can't figure out. Although the gender has changed, the relationship between Satin Tearsama and Hatsuhara Sheri is still very good. When they were in the 177th branch, Satin Tearsama often came to the branch to visit Hatsuhara Sheri. Although there was no plot where her skirt was lifted, Hatsuharu Shiri often covered his buttocks the moment he saw Satin Tearsama. The female compatriots in the 177th branch had many opinions and discussions on this, including keywords such as who is the top and who is the bottom. But Satin Tearsama's Hatsuharu, has disappeared. The soft and cute girl who can do cat and cat punches after her skirt is lifted is gone. What a pity. However, Qin Ren looked at the other side. The combination of Kamijutma and Misaka Suekoto. Kamijutma touched the back of his head with a puzzled look on his face, and asked Misaka Suekoto next to him, is there really a bomb? Discharging a junior high school student, and his words directly made Misaka Suekoto explode. Kamijo, I've told you many times, don't call me that. Fierce blue arcs of electricity shot out from his body. Hey, wait a minute, Master Suekoto. To an ordinary person as a loyal younger brother, Shirai Kurachi wanted to stop him. But the next moment, he couldn't help but be stunned. The current, which was several times more intense than usual, disappeared into the air as if it was erased by an eraser when it touched the raised palm of the man. Satin Ruiko next to him looked at this scene and was a little confused. What kind of ability is this? A lightning rod? Can it conduct electricity to the ground? I'm level 0. Kamijutma shook his palm and said something that no one believed. An ordinary high school student. Qin Ren watched from the side, thinking in his heart that if you are ordinary, there is nothing extraordinary in this world. Then, he walked up to the few people. Hello Master. Hey, Izil. Seeing that it was Qin Ren, Kamijutma couldn't help but greet him with a smile, and then subconsciously looked around. What are you looking for? Qin Ren was slightly stunned. I'm looking for my sister. Usually when you appear, she will appear nearby by chance. It seems so. He has bumped into Kamijumaki many times by coincidence. At this time, Qin Ren felt some fine black particles floating out, and couldn't help but follow these black particles to look at Kamijutma's pocket. Master, your phone is broken. Kamijutma and Misaka Suekoto were stunned at the same time. Then Kamijutma took out a pink mobile phone with burnt marks on it from the pocket of his skirt. After opening it, it really didn't work. Misaka. He turned his resentful eyes to Misaka Suekoto. Mr. Kamijutma has no money to buy a new phone this month. I'll pay for it. Misaka Suekoto knew she was in the wrong and accepted her fate. It seems that tsundere is not hereditary. Thinking in his heart, Qin Ren turned his gaze to Shirai Kurachi who looked indifferent next to him. Kurachi, have you found the bomb? Although his expression was indifferent, Qin Ren could see an inexplicable look in his eyes, just like seeing a woman when he was a mistress. He is worthy of being Kuroko's brother. Your sister plays Yuri, and you come to philosophy. Please call me Shirai. Hearing Qin Ren's address, Shirai Heizi responded subconsciously and continued, no. We have been looking for it for a long time and can't find it. Senior Gufa is even looking for it with people inside. Satin Ruiko next to him blinked and interrupted. What kind of bomb is it? It's a bomb formed by the acceleration of gravitons. Gufa Chiwai also came out with a puzzled look on his face. The news from the discipline committee headquarters said that gravitons were detected here. Qin Ren couldn't understand what gravitons were, so he looked at the universal little helper Milu. Milu, what are gravitons? Gravitons? Milu adjusted her air glasses and said. Chapter 14 Armor Hero Izir Qin. Gravity, also known as graviton. Graviton, also known as graviton, is a hypothetical particle proposed by the 20th century scientist Einstein. The transmission of universal gravitation is transmitted by graviton, and Shirai Kurachi next to him interjected, I remember it in the textbook, but because it was not very relevant to his ability, he did not remember it much. Qin Ren sighed regarding graviton. In his world, it is still an unconfirmed and controversial thing. Qin Ren is not very familiar with this thing. However, he remembered that some people argued about the abilities of the group of LV5 in the forum, such as the controversy between accelerators scalar and vector. For example, the ability of atomic collapse Yi Shenli, whether it is reasonable to forcibly restrain electrons from turning into waveforms or particles and let them maintain the state of ambiguous electrons. Another example is Misaka Mikoto. According to the physics setting of Hippo, Misaka Mikoto's ability is to control electromagnetic waves and magnetic forces to influence electrons to form electric currents. But electromagnetic waves include light, and it is also contradictory to be able to control electromagnetic waves but not light. In short, like most works, most authors are not social physicists, economists, scientists, historians, or biologists. At most, they can be called keyboardists. It is best not to use the rules of reality to set the settings in the work. If you do, there will be more and more bugs. It is okay to argue in reality, but it is meaningless to find a sense of reality in the virtual world after traveling to the work. In short, if you take it seriously, you will lose. This is even more true for the Qin people. Things like systems exist, and it doesn't matter whether other things exist or not. Anyway, don't treat any novels and animations as rigorous science fiction works. The same is true for Magical Index. Just treat it as a general magical work. The things in it are out of the original worldview and cannot stand the test. Speaking of which, as for the ability to deal with Misaka Mikoto, Gar's skills have a sand lightning rod that can fix sand into a lightning rod and absorb electric shocks. When gold coins are abundant, you can exchange for sand lightning rod skills. In case you are affected by Misaka Mikoto's electric shock, you can defend yourself. Speaking of which, how should we remind them that Ji Li Hatsuya is the criminal? Oh, right. At this time, Qin Ren thought of the topic just now, and asked Gufa Maiwai next to him, Miss Gufa, is there any rule for the formation of bombs by graviton acceleration? For example, the diffusion for more materials. Material? Oh, right. Gufa Chaiwai seemed to remember something. In the explosions that happen these days, the explosives are basically empty cans. Oh, aluminum products. Aluminum products. Kachiki Miru next to him raised her hand high, attracting everyone's attention. Senior Gufa. Mr. Rizel just subdued a suspicious girl, and there were a lot of aluminum products in her bag. I'll go check it out. Shirai Heizi and Gufa Chaiwai looked at each other, used space transfer and disappeared in front of everyone. At this time, Qin Ren glanced at the sign of the mall, and then looked at Kamijutma. I didn't expect that you, the leader, would have such an interest. What interest? Kamijutma didn't understand what Qin Ren was talking about. I didn't expect you to like women's clothing. Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets, and a wicked smile appeared on his lips. This is a dress shop. Like women's clothing? The eyes of Kachiki Miru next to him flashed. Is this what is called a cross-dressing enthusiast? This is the first time I've actually seen one. Kamijutma finally understood what it meant. He pointed at the little girl next to Bruiko and said with wide eyes, Izel, I really just brought her here. I'm not interested in that. Misaka Suekoto next to him looked at her with suspicion, and also doubted whether he was interested in women's clothing. Tma, I didn't expect you. Really not. It's just a joke. You don't have to take it seriously, master. Seeing Kamijutma's reaction, Qin Ren shrugged his shoulders. Seriously speaking, Kamijutma is still very good. Ever since he saw his sister, Qin Ren felt that he had made friends with the master. Qin Ren is a loyal fan. Speaking of which, Her sister is a bit like Kanzaki Kori, with very long legs. Master, do you want your sister to try the combination of belly-bearing clothes and hot pants? Qin Ren suggested seriously. Kamajo Kori cut off one leg of her pants, which was half a pair of hot pants. In response to Qin Ren's words, Kamajutma rubbed his shoulders. You should go and tell her about this in person. Kamajutma wanted to cry but had no tears for the joke just now. He didn't like the cute attributes of pseudo-girls. The young man Kamaju thought of the harem comics under his bed and thought to himself, Qin Ren was just saying it. Even if Kamajumaki's appearance was similar to Kamajikori's, and she was still the mature sister type that Qin Ren liked, Qin Ren would not be interested in her. Kamajumaki equals effeminate, Kamajutma equals effeminate hedgehog-headed boy. This stereotype cannot be removed. After taking a look at Kamajutma, Qin Ren turned and left, and told Kuchiki Miru, you have to come with me to persuade people to be good and teach the bad guys. Sorry, Mr. Rizal, I have to go back to the branch to deal with the transfer to the branch. Oh, okay. Qin Ren nodded, then turned and left. Qin Ren would certainly persuade people to be good. In order to make the bad guys kinder, he would knock them out kindly and send them to the hospital. But what he wants to do now is something else. He has something else he wants to experiment with. After taking the bus to the edge of the school district, Qin Ren found a place that was relatively edged and had more sand. Regarding the ability to control sand, he had a new idea. The process of controlling the deformation of sand is actually to visualize the model and then control the sand to condense into various shapes. The same is true for sand soldiers, which form their postures through sand. However, when he mentioned Accelerator just now, he remembered a girl related to Accelerator, Kinata Suzuki. Among the many Anbu organizations, one of the members of Item means props. The so-called Anbu is a confidential organization managed by the upper echelons of Academy City. Most of them are directly controlled by the General Council, and some are directly under the chairman Alistair. The duties are to maintain the stability within Academy City and to carry out things that cannot be expressed to the light, including assassination, silencing, fighting against external threats, researching black technology, violent stability maintenance, including armed suppression of students and counter-terrorism, and erasing data, etc. Most of the actions carried out by Anbu members are dark and cruel. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Disciplinary Committee members continue to work. Kinata's favorite, with the ability of level 4 nitrogen armor, is a person with the ability to freely manipulate nitrogen in the air. By transplanting the defense part of Accelerator's calculation model into the brain, he optimized his own reality and gained the ability to automatically defend. The defense is independent of his consciousness and will automatically deploy. Just like Accelerator's reflection, the limit is a protective wall formed by the ability that automatically deploys around him. Accelerator is the LV5 of Academy City, and can control the direction of energy. As long as it touches the skin, he can freely control the direction of all energy such as kinetic energy, thermal energy, and electrical energy, and can reflect all physical attacks. In normal times, he will set up a layer of ability that is almost equivalent to passive around his body. The skin setting defaults to reflection, which can reflect all energy beyond the basic limits such as oxygen and gravity. This nitrogen armor reminds Qin Ren of Gaara. Gaara in the manga and animation Naruto can automatically defend himself with sand because of his mother. The name is Sand Shield. When designing the Jin game, Qin Ren also included this skill of Gaara as a well-known work related to sand. However, since it is not Azur's skill, there is no discount. If you want to exchange it, you have to spend 100 yellow sand gold coins. However, what Qin Ren wants to experiment with is not this, but sand armor. This is a skill that Gaara often uses with Sand Shield, covering the whole body with sand to form a dense armor to protect himself. Because when talking about Accelerator, he thought of Kinata's favorite, and because of Kinata's favorite, He thought of the two skills of sand shield and sand armor. What Qin Ren wants to experiment with is to imitate sand armor and put the armor of sand soldiers on himself. That's right, put the armor of yellow sand soldiers on himself. Although it is different from sand armor, it is worth a try. Visualize sand soldiers, no body, only armor, driven by mana. Metal particles in the sand flew out and condensed outside Qin Ren's body, forming a metal armor and helmet. It's a bit heavy, but it feels safe. Is this called sand soldier possession? No? Or armor possession? Let's just call it armor fusion. After playing a joke that no one could understand for a while, Qin Ren, who had no one to respond to, could only move his arms silently. The armor formed by metal particles hung on his body, and Qin Ren couldn't help but feel a little heavy and tight. The sand soldier was smaller than him. It's troublesome to visualize the model. After sighing, Qin Ren continued to correct the shape of the armor. Oh, it's already condensed into armor. Why not just condense into Izir's clothes? However, the sand surged around his body and formed no. Just thinking about it is not specific enough. Izir's clothes cannot be completely condensed. It needs to be modeled with reference to the target. Oh, modeling. Just build a model and then visualize it with reference. But it seems that his computer. Bang! Qin Ren slapped the visor with a slap, making a crisp bang. He didn't have much money this month. Did he have to go to work, or the Anbu? He remembered that the Anbu should have a lot of money when taking jobs. Accelerator joined the Anbu to make money and pay off debts. The discipline committee members were just volunteers and had no salary. How should I join the Anbu and find people from the Anbu? Qin Ren muttered in his heart. While he was muttering, he caught a glimpse of a group of people walking over. When they saw him, they were stunned. When did this kind of statue appear here? It looks like a person. Is it a person? It seems to be. Is he cosplaying a character? I don't know. Just get rid of him first. The previous conversation was fine, but for some reason, he suddenly said that he wanted to get rid of him. What kind of deal? When Qin Ren was thinking about this, he saw those young men coming over. The leading young man showed a fierce expression and took out a knife from his pocket. Hey, you, get out of here. The way to get rid of people was too bad, threatening with a knife, and calling the police after others left. Wait a minute, he was the discipline committee member. Qin slowly controlled the sand, took out the discipline committee member's armband from his pocket, put it on his hand, and then said, "It's so sad." He actually threatened the discipline committee member with a knife. What? Discipline committee member? When they saw Qin's armband, several people realized that something was wrong, and the young man with the knife put away the knife. However, how could Qin let go of the living, new bag of yellow sand gold coins standing in front of him? It's a good time to experiment with close combat. While using magic power to assist the armor to reduce the weight, Qin tightly grasped the nearly 80 Jin iron sand spear and rushed over. The next day. 177th branch. I think it should be Kashiro Eba. He is a level 4, quantum shift, user. This Ji Lu Hatsushi has the same ability, and is also a quantum shift user, but it is only a level 2 psychic. Moreover, she is a girl. According to her classmates, she is introverted and timid, and she should not be impulsive enough to create explosions everywhere. Personality is not the key, and Shirai, Kashiro Eba has an alibi. She lost consciousness and was admitted to the hospital on July 10th. In the 177th branch, Shirai Kurachi and Hatsuharu Shiri were discussing who the criminal was. At this time, Shirai Kurachi turned his head and took a look, then moved sideways 2 steps. 1 second after he left, with a flash of a figure, a girl with brown hair and twin ponytails wearing a longer school uniform of a girl's school appeared in his original position. What's wrong, Kuroko? Oh, brother, I'm here to check the situation. I need the information on the void explosion case. Here is the information. Hatsuharu Shiri picked up the information on Kashiro Wakai from the table and handed it to Kuroko. Okay, brother, I'll leave first. After looking through the information, Shirai Kuroko used his ability to leave. Qin Ren stood aside, his face unchanged, but he muttered in his heart. It seemed that because of his intervention, the evidence was not conclusive when Ji Lu Hatsushi was arrested. Now the man is still in custody. but he has not been convicted. This is a bit embarrassing. In other words, the Void explosion case is not over yet, and he has to continue patrolling. It's really annoying. Mr. Izir. Mr. Izir, can I go too? Kachiki Miru next to him raised her arms. At this time, Hatsuharu Shiri next to him said, "No, Miss Kachiki, you haven't completed the procedures for transferring to branch 177 yet." There was a slight smile on his face. Even though Kachiki Miru wilted after hearing this, she didn't react and still kept a smiling expression. Did the soft and cute Hatsuharu become a dark-bellied person after being translated into Chinese? Qin Ren complained in his heart, and then heard Hatsuharu say, "Mr. Izir, please go over here and take a look." Hatsuharu Shiri pointed to the map screen on the computer and drew a straight line on it with his finger. "This is the west." "Is this my patrol route today?" Qin Ren memorized the map, then said goodbye to everyone and left the branch. Just before he left, Misaka Suekoto arrived at the branch. "Kurikoto, Aharu, what did you ask me to do?" "Ah, Suekoto-sama, actually, it's like this. Actually, it's about something called illusionary hand, and we want to find some information about it." "Is this near Tokuwadai?" "I'll go take a look." "This is the longer machine, so I'll let Misaka go." "Yes, I've already told Kuroko to go and take a look." Chapter 16, The Red-Haired, Burning-Eyed Fire Mist Warrior. Mist. Here, Qin Ren followed his memory and came to the place that Chuck Hun said. "Isn't this the street next to the dormitory?" He turned his head to the left, and it was the dormitory building he was familiar with. At this time, he raised his head with some doubts. There were many black particles floating in the air. Because of the blood of Shurima, he was very sensitive to the existence of various particles. This particle was a little hot. "Is it charcoal? Flame? Is there a fire?" Qin Ren controlled the surrounding sand to condense into a sand plate under his feet with some doubts, and moved towards the direction where the charcoal particles were flying. When Qin Ren came to the place where the flames were burning, he found that the raging flames formed an explosion. With a bang, a figure was blown away by the impact of the explosion. However, the opponent seemed to be completely unharmed by the explosion. The violent impact and high-temperature flames were completely blocked by a stronger force when they touched the opponent's clothes, and were folded to both sides. The girl's body was blown away like this. Although she was blown away by the explosion, the impact force did not hurt her at all. Qin Ren didn't see any traces of blood or even stains on her clothes. This is what happened in front of Qin Ren's eyes. A girl in pure white nun's clothes was jumping from a 10-story apartment building next to her to an 8-story dormitory building. She was hit by flames in the air, drew an arc in the air, and hung on the balcony on the 7th floor. Qin Ren thought about it. The pure white nun's clothes, the gorgeous gold edges of silk embroidery. Oh, it's index. Wait, why didn't this foodie turn into a man? Or do you have a brother, sister, or sister? He turned his head and glanced at the balcony where the girl was hanging. The 7th floor seems to be the leader's home. I didn't expect it to be blown away by the explosion. Speaking of it, still, Qin Ren only then noticed that a tall woman who was at least 10 centimeters taller than him was standing next to the explosion point that was still burning. She was wearing a jet black robe with white edges, long red hair that reached her back, and a burning cigarette in her mouth. She was looking up at the girl who was blown away by the explosion and hung on the balcony. She seemed relieved, as if she noticed Qin Ren's gaze. The woman turned her head, and Qin Ren also saw the barcode-like tattoo under her left eye. Wait, is this woman still or Still's sister? There must be no one else with this barcode except Still, right? Qin Ren thought about Still, a rune magician belonging to the magic side, the British Puritan Special Force Church of Necessary Evil. He is good at positional warfare, and his strength is between LV3-LV5 according to the setting of superpowers. It seems that he is a genius magician, only 14 years old, and a man more than 2 meters tall. Who is this woman now? Is it Still or his sister? Zaya Still with red hair and burning eyes. His name is Still Mass. After seeing Qin Ren's expressionless face and the sand surrounding him, the red-haired woman frowned, her pretty eyebrows wrinkled. Is it Alistair's people? Qin Ren was still in shock because of the fact that Steele had also become a woman, and did not take any action. However, in Steele's eyes, He was not a spectator, and Qin Ren's eyes were also regarded as acquaintance by her, shocked why she appeared here. Is this man also a magician? The next moment, Qin Ren saw the red-haired woman raised her hand and threw the paper object the size of a playing card between her fingers, and whispered, "Flame, Kanaz." As the voice sounded, a burning red flame emerged from the paper, surging towards Qin Ren like a long snake. Damn, even if you become a woman, your temper is so violent? I didn't do anything. Fire mages are really violent. Show up, my soldiers. Without thinking any more, Qin Ren raised his palm immediately and recited the lines that he had practiced many times to increase his momentum. At the same time as the voice sounded, the mana that had surged earlier drove the surrounding gravel and condensed into a yellow sand soldier. At the moment of appearance, the yellow sand soldier swung the yellow sand spear in his hand vigorously and directly shattered the flying flames. Under the helmet, the eyes without any will stared at the attacking feminized still, and his action made the red-haired woman suspicious. It was not because of the power of the Qin people, but because of the yellow sand soldier. The use of magic can basically be divided into several types. First, idol worship. As long as the shape and purpose are similar, you can get a small part of the power of the real thing. This is the basic principle of idol worship. Second, objects. Use objects that already have power to use magic. Third, text. For example, she can use magic with different combinations of text runes. Others include using legends and using earth veins. After that, by refining the vitality in your body into magic power as energy, you can use magic. Before she came to Academy City, she had heard of the so-called superpowers, but the yellow sand soldier in front of her looked like a replica made by imitating something as a prototype, and the words just now sounded like the activation of magic. In other words, the person in front of her was probably using idolatry magic. Is he really a magician? Is he here because of Index? Thinking that this person might harm Index, she immediately took action. Tfm, I have fire in my hands. Itsats, its shape is a sword. Its job is to judge dash. Flame sword, flame_sword. The flame sword formed by the flames exceeding 3000 degrees Celsius was formed in Sti's hand. The flaming sword emitting scorching heat extended from the palm of the red-haired woman as if it was held in her hand, and there was no sense of disobedience on this 2-meter-tall woman. Even because of the flames, the heroic hair brought a different kind of gorgeousness. It's over. It's over. I actually think Still is beautiful. After Qin Ren was distracted for a moment, he controlled the sand soldiers to block the attack. Although it is possible to explain the identity with words with unknown success rate to make the opponent stop attacking, the temptation of yellow sand gold coins blinded the eyes of the Qin people. Regardless of whether Still is a man or a woman, he is at least a powerful magician with an average level of more than LV4. If you defeat him, you can get an E-level yellow sandbag, which is 101,000 yellow sand gold coins. Ideals and reality are different. The sand soldiers created by the Qin people can attack, but they can only move in place. Chapter 17. This is called a flat attack. He knew this very well, but the red-haired woman didn't. She swung the flaming sword, and the burning red flame swept through the air like a giant sword, rolling up the temperature of 3000 degrees, causing the temperature of the air and the ground to rise rapidly. Just by being swept by the high-temperature flame, the grass and debris left on the road surface were burned to ashes. The surface of the asphalt road surface was also melted by the high temperature. At this time, she saw the sand soldier holding the spear tightly, swinging the spear at an unexpected speed, piercing through the intangible flaming sword. The yellow sand spear, which was condensed from sand mixed with various substances, made a crackling sound when it stabbed with the flaming sword. The burning red flaming sword was like the flame in a forge. In an instant, the part where the sand soldier's yellow sand spear and the flaming sword intertwined underwent a complex reaction under the high temperature and turned into rough glass. However, the lifeless yellow sand soldier would not slack off because of such a situation. Under Qin Ren's control, it completely ignored the high temperature of the flames. With a crackling sound, it faced the flames and threw the spear at the red-haired woman's body. Her pupils shrank, and her other hand quickly threw out the rune paper in her hand. Vulcan's sacrifice. Vulcan_Brassrat. The magic power in her body poured into the rune paper, and the lit runes shot out flames, condensing into a right arm with arm armor, making a grabbing gesture, blocking her in front of her. When the yellow sand spear stabbed at the red-haired woman, it was grabbed by the arm formed by the flame, and only a small part of the spear tip pierced into the hand of the flame. The next moment, Qin Ren saw that the yellow sand spear was pinched hard by the flame arm, trying to destroy the yellow sand spear. At this time, Qin Ren also released the power to maintain the yellow sand spear. In an instant, the yellow sand spear exploded, and the rough glass blocks melted under the high temperature scattered around. At this time, Qin Ren controlled the quicksand and condensed a yellow sand spear in the hands of the yellow sand soldier again. The red-haired woman frowned when she saw this situation. She thought of one of her colleagues, Shirley Cromwell, who also belonged to the Church of Necessary Evil in the Zeroth Church of the Puritan Church. The magician who was good at the earth attributed Kabbalah ritual and could create stone giants. Because Qin Ren controlled the yellow sand soldiers through thoughts, she did not observe any language or gesture commands. In other words, this soldier condensed from sand was an automatic puppet similar to Shirley's stone giant. It was the same as the stone giant made by Shirley. Generally speaking, this kind of puppet would have a safety device called secret text. As long as this place is found and touched, all the functions of the puppet can be stopped to prevent the puppet from falling into a violent state of disobedience. In order to prevent others from touching the secret text, it is generally hidden inside the body, and there may be a technique to move the position of the secret text. I haven't analyzed this spell, but as long as more than 90% of the sand soldier's parts are destroyed in a short period of time, this spell can be destroyed. Wait a minute. Why did the sand soldier stand still and not approach? And the attack was just throwing a spear? So that's it. It's the same positional spell as the witch hunting king. The goal of the spell is that he just said show up, my soldier, and the spell composition should include protecting the user. As a genius magician, she quickly analyzed the facts from various traces. She looked at Qin Ren, who had no facial expression, but just put his hands in his pockets and looked fearless, and smiled. Have I seen through your spell, or do you want to report the name of your magic? From the tradition passed down from a long time ago, magicians are forbidden to use their real names when using magic, perhaps to avoid certain curse spells. And today, when a magician says his magic name, it takes on a new meaning. It not only means that magic will be used, but also means that he will fight to the death. Qin Ren was still a little confused. He had no idea what this effeminate still had seen through. A spell? A magic name? After a few seconds of hesitation, Qin Ren finally found out what the word magic name meant from his memory. In order to maintain his aura, Qin Ren habitually had a slightly arrogant expressionless face. This expression did not disappear when he was thinking. In the eyes of the red-haired woman, this expression was thinking, and after thinking, the arrogance of not believing that one's own spell could be seen through. It's really pitiful. I rarely lie. The red-haired woman waved her arm, and several rune seals flew out, ready to condense into a flaming sword again. Look at me destroying your puppet directly. Tiafim. My hand has fire. Itsats. Its shape is a sword. Ahr. Its job is to judge dash. Give the giant pain. Pure eyes nope. Flaming sword can change into various shapes, depending on the location and the opponent's ability. This move is a move to defeat the enemy with a large explosion and a high-speed attack of the flaming sword. In the eyes of the Qin people, this red-haired woman's long spell, the precasting swing, is so long. He raised his hand, the Shurima blood in his body was surging, and mana surged out. From his hand, a sand-yellow mana stream similar to lightning shot out, piercing through the rune seal in the red-haired woman's hand and hitting her chest. Chilla, accompanied by the sound of clothes shattering, an extremely strong pain came from the chest. Her face changed, she covered her aching chest, and fell to the ground due to the intense pain. The wet touch was undoubtedly blood. The spell was interrupted. Without her magic power, the flames on the rune paper gradually disappeared, and the fierce flame sword also dissipated in the air. Oops, the red-haired girl thought to herself that it was not good, but when she was about to take out the rune paper to use the healing and defense spells, she found that the other party had no intention of pursuing the victory. She looked up in disbelief, watching the other party wave his arms to disperse the sand soldiers, and then put his hands in his trouser pockets, with a leisurely posture, as if she was just not worth the other party's attack. So that's it, she laughed at herself. Is there such a person in Academy City? A person who has never been investigated before. Her consciousness became more and more blurred. Before she fainted, she asked with the intention of not being answered, just now, what was that spell? What spell? Qin Ren took a look at his own skills and the 10% mana left. He had a blank expression on his face and said softly in an indifferent tone, frequent attack. Frequent attack? What style of technique is this? The red-haired girl fell to the ground with a puzzled look on her face. Chapter 18. Wait a minute. Zihuo Lashen? Question mark. Just when Qin Ren wanted to get closer to this effeminate still and take a closer look, he suddenly shuddered and took 2 steps back. Almost at the moment he stepped back, several silver-white blade lights fell from the sky, leaving several narrow and long blade marks on his original position. Then, a cold male voice sounded, "Don't get any closer." Qin Ren looked at the man who suddenly appeared, a tall man with short hair and wearing blue jeans, who was about 10 centimeters shorter than himself. In his left and right hands, he held a scabbard and a samurai sword respectively. The most eye-catching thing was his upper body clothing. He wore a white t-shirt, but only the right half, and the skin on the left side was completely exposed. The very clear lines of the chest and abdominal muscles might make some girls scream with excitement. Qin Ren was very speechless. Okay, it's not hard to understand that a woman who looks like Still's feminization and a man who looks like Kamijikori's Chinesization appear. It must be Kamijikori's brother. I know, it's definitely not like Hatsuharu Shiri and Gufa Maiwai who are Chinesized into Hatsuharu Shiri and Gufa Chiwai, right? When Qin Ren was about to say something, he found that the male version of Kamijikori turned his eyes behind him. Qin Ren also turned his head and saw a tall and beautiful girl. Her bright golden hair extended all the way to her back, and her arms were white and extremely slender, almost touching her knees. She was wearing a Hawaiian-style floral dress, a pink wide-brimmed round hat on her head, light blue sunglasses on her nose, and a gold necklace around her neck. She looked very Hawaiian. She had a bright smile on her face. When Qin Ren turned his head to look at her, she raised her arms high. "Hello Iziltsuchi Mikado Sanaharu." Qin Ren held his head and had a headache. This is not an isolated case. After greeting Qin Ren, Tsuchi Mikado Sanaharu walked to Qin Ren's side and said to the man with his left upper body exposed, "Zihuo, don't underestimate Izil. Although he is nothing compared to a saint like you, he is raw stone." Raw stone? Izil. As for his identity, Tsuchi Mikado Haruko was about to introduce him when she heard Qin Ren say, "A big shot on the magic side?" Qin Ren put his hands in his pockets and looked at the man with a belligerent expression on his face. "Who are you?" "Belligerent? Don't be ridiculous. He doesn't have this characteristic of a hot-blooded comic protagonist." Although Tsuchi Mikado Sanaharu said not as good as, he actually didn't feel anything at all. He knew very well that in the magical index, the status of a saint was quite high. But in order to strengthen the momentum, the words "it's a raw stone," and being with the suspected gender changed still, and knowing the feminized Tsuchi Mikado, plus this weird outfit, this person is undoubtedly related to Kanzaki Kori. Kamisaki Kori, a member of the Church of Necessary Evil, the number 0 Church of the British Puritans, ranks among the top few of the saints in the world, who number less than 20. So, who is this man? After hearing Qin Ren's unyielding words, the man replied while using a healing spell on the red-haired woman who fell to the ground, "My name is Orikawa Kori." Orikawa Kori? Kamisaki Kori? It's okay to just turn the name upside down, but it does sound like that. It's a pity. Kamisaki has become a man. Hey, wait a minute. My fair-skinned, beautiful, ponytailed, half-cut hot pants, and long wide legs. Big sister Kamisaki. That's the type he likes. He doesn't care if a flat-chested tsundere girl like Sister Pal becomes Brother Pal. But, this is the queen type. Kamisaki Kori must still be there, right? You are her brother, right? After relaxing, Qin Ren turned his gaze to the red-haired woman lying on the ground. What about that woman? He wanted to know what the woman's name was. Tsuchimi Sanaharu beside him answered, "Oh, her name is Steel Magnus." "What? Steel?" "Steel." Just changed her tongue to flat and rolled back. Dare to name it a little rougher. In order to maintain his momentum, Qin Ren forcibly suppressed his desire to complain. Tsuchimi Sanaharu blinked his beautiful eyes under his sunglasses. "It seems that you have understood it. It's great. I don't need to explain too much." At this time, Steel had regained consciousness and sat up with her chest covered. After waking up, she saw the firecracking god beside her and Tsuchimi Sanaharu not far away. "You guys, since you're awake, I'll leave first." After seeing this feminine Steel wake up, Qin Ren glanced at the mana that had recovered to 80%, put his hands in his trouser pockets, and said indifferently, "There is only one thing he wants to do now. Open the bag, take the gold coins, change skills." Without waiting for them to say anything, Qin Ren controlled the quicksand to form a sandboard, stepped on it directly, and left the scene, leaving only the three people who were a little stunned. Ha ha ha. As expected of Izir, still so self-willed, Tsuchimikado Sanaharu covered his mouth and chuckled twice, then looked at Still and Ziyu Li Shen. His eyes became sharp. "The chairman wants to see you." Qin Ren went straight back to the dormitory. Because it was an ordinary school, there were no separate dormitories. The dormitory was an apartment style. In addition to his school, there were students from several other ordinary schools. And because the room was a single room, there was no distinction between male and female. When he walked upstairs from the 7th floor, a cylindrical robot came over, and a 13 or 14-year-old girl in a maid outfit was kneeling on it. When it saw Qin Ren, the cylindrical sweeping robot moved directly towards him. "Mr. Izir." "Oh, Wuxia." Qin Ren took a look and then remembered her brother. "No, sister, this girl is called Tsuchimika, and she is the younger sister of Tsuchimikado Sanaharu. Speaking of which, why did her brother change his gender?" "But this sister did not change his gender to become a younger brother." "What is the law of gender change? Who can give a definite answer?" "Mr. Izir." Tsuchimika tilted her head in confusion, and her eyes swept across the discipline committee armband on Qin Ren's arm. "Shouldn't you still be on patrol?" "Ah, my patrol route happens to be near the dormitory, so I came back to take a look and change clothes." At this time, Tsuchimika noticed that there were some black marks on his clothes that looked like they were burned by fire. Did Mr. Izir encounter a fire? The sweeping robot started to spin, causing Tsuchimika to spin with it, making some strange sounds. "No, it was burned by your sister's friend, a smoking fire mist warrior." Hearing this, Tsuchimika became a little excited. "Smoking is not a good habit. Second-hand smoke is bad for the body. I can't let my sister stay with such people for too long." Under Qin Ren's gaze, Tsuchimika, who was driving the sweeping robot, spun and went down the stairs with a difficult technique. Academy City is indeed full of talents. Shaking his head, Qin Ren walked upstairs with his savings. As he walked, he focused his eyes on the yellow sand gold coin column on the system. The logo of 33 pieces was extremely conspicuous. Thanks to the book Friend, blood blooms like a black lily for the 500 starting coins reward. Chapter 19. Although I am short of money, but, after returning to the dormitory and changing clothes, Qin Ren prepared to open the bag, a level sand bag, which can get in 100 sand coins. The momentum value is 20%, which means that he can get nearly 1.5 times the sand coins. You got 126 sand coins, you got F-level certificate, but he doesn't need it now. As for the 126 gold coins, it's almost the minimum. Am I really a non-African? But plus the original 33, it's 159. I got rich all of a sudden. Now I can directly exchange for Izir's 3 skills. Since I have money, why hesitate? Qin Ren chose to exchange Izir's 3 skills without hesitation. Sand Rush. G. Let all sand soldiers rush at the same time. Sand soldiers will cause G damage to all enemies along the way and slow them down temporarily. The maximum additional magic power is increased to G. Quicksand Shift. G. The user dashes to a yellow sand soldier, gains a shield that can withstand 1 G damage, and deals G damage to enemies on the way. Affected by magic power, the maximum additional magic power is increased to G. Forbidden Army Wall, G. Condensed yellow sand forms a human wall composed of multiple yellow sand soldiers and charges forward, repelling objects along the way and dealing G damage. While the human wall exists, it will continue to consume mana. Except for the user, no object can pass through the yellow sand human wall through dashing skills. Just like the feeling when the exchanged sand soldiers appeared, the body was slightly hot, and a sense of trance came. In the Shurima blood in the body, a force revived along with the memory. How to make the yellow sand soldiers rush, how to rush towards the yellow sand soldiers, how to create the Forbidden Army Wall. As if it had been done thousands of times, Qin Ren opened his eyes, and as long as he thought, that feeling would emerge in his heart. However, although it felt great to get something new, there were only 9 yellow sand gold coins left, and because the Forbidden Army Wall requires a lot of yellow sand, the consumption becomes very large. The upper limit of the yellow sand he can control continuously is not high, only more than 100 kilograms. And if you want to increase the upper limit of controlling sand, there are 2 ways. First, strengthen the upper limit of mana. Second, strengthen the magic power. Third, upgrade the blood of Shurima. But no matter which one, you need 100 yellow sand gold coins and 10 G level certificates. But he doesn't have many certificates. After glancing at the level G behind the blood of Shurima, Qin Ren shook his head. Okay, it's time to continue patrolling. Just when he was about to open the door, he suddenly stopped. He could feel that the sand outside the door and on the ground that he had deliberately placed was abnormal, as if someone was stepping on it. That is, someone was standing outside the door. Who? While wondering, he opened the door. Izil missed Tsuchimikado. What's the matter with you? The blonde woman with a sweet smile who appeared in front of him was Tsuchimikado Sanaharu. Don't think I'll be interested in you just because you're blonde. That's not true. Although you're blonde and your temperament is very similar to Shoka Misaki, you don't have Shoka Misaki's figure. You're much thinner. It seems you don't welcome me. She slightly raised her sunglasses, revealing a pair of beautiful eyes with a slightly sharp feeling underneath, staring at Qin Ren. Although she's very beautiful, and if her figure develops a little bit, she can become an excellent queen, but when Qin Ren sees her, he will subconsciously think of that man who is bare-chested and like a gangster, Tsuchimikado Motoharu, so he really can't get interested in her. Of course, Qin Ren can't say that. He tugged at his clothes. How do you think a normal person would feel after being attacked for no reason? What a petty man. Hearing this reason, Tsuchimikado Sanaharu showed a sad expression. You actually took your anger out on other girls because of the things about Zyuo and Steel. Does every woman have the skill of fake crying? This is not a vent of anger. If you have something to say, please tell me quickly. I still have to go on patrol. He wanted to find a few bad guys to experiment with his skills. No, to have a life discussion and persuade people to be good. Seeing that Qin Ren's attitude did not show any signs of softening because of her actions, Tsuchimikado Sanaharu sighed, and then looked him up and down. Is it possible that you like men? Izil, as a double agent on the magic side and the science side, she is very skilled in using beauty as a tool. Even if she is not serious, she thinks that her charm has some effect. But this man is not moved at all, as expected. However, for Qin Ren, a straight man, this accusation is really unbearable. Every man has his own favorite points. He pulled his collar and said seriously, for me, the points for status are queen, elder sister, senior sister, queen, nun, monster girl. The points for clothing and appearance are cheongsam, white shirt, nun uniform, crown, apron, armor, bandage, hot pants. No points for personality, but the tsundere attribute is a minus point. By the way, among the monster girl attributes, cat girl, dog girl and the like are too rustic, so there are no points for them. He pulled his collar seriously, and then glanced at Tsuchimikado Sanaharu. Ms. Tsuchimikado, you don't have any points for you. Qin Ren's extremely serious answer also made Tsuchimikado Sanaharu take a step back, and then think carefully. It seems that she really has nothing to do with any of the above attributes. I didn't expect you to be so perverted. Tsuchimikado Sanaharu changed his opinion. but it did not change for the better, but went further and further in the direction of perversion. Qin Ren was not moved by this at all. He didn't live to be liked by others. What's wrong with a man being perverted? After taking a step forward and locking the door, Qin Ren looked down at the Hawaiian-style blonde. She was quite attractive. No, this guy is a man, Qin Ren said to himself. So, what's your business? Following Qin Ren's line of sight and moving his eyes to her chest, and looking carefully into his eyes, after confirming that there was no lust in his eyes, Tsutamikato Sanaharu had deep doubts about her charm, but business was more important. She stared at Qin Ren, not missing any of his emotional changes, and said, "Have you heard of the Anbu?" "I've heard of Amway." After complaining silently in his heart, Qin Ren still kept his hands in his pockets and in expressionless posture. "Of course I know." As for why he knew, he naturally had a reasonable explanation. It's those rats who do things secretly and don't clean up the scene thoroughly, right? He also deliberately showed a disdainful expression, which made people feel arrogant at a glance. "In front of me, you can't hide it all." This is true. Within the right distance, the debris of flesh and skin, as long as the size and diameter are appropriate, can be felt and even controlled by him. And blood attached to the sand, he can also detect it. "Oh, it seems that you have developed your ability quite well." Hearing this, Tsutamikato Sanaharu just smiled. Although he is a member of the Anbu, he doesn't think there is anything wrong with the Anbu being called sneaky rats. As for the unclean cleaning, apart from this guy, few people can detect these dirty things. After seeing Izir defeat Steel using magic that was similar to idolatry or concept extraction, if she hadn't been sure that the other party was a raw stone, she would have even thought that Izir was a leader in a certain magician organization. In some cases, this perception might be even stronger than her divination. After showing a smile, she said, "Do you want to join the Anbu?" "Huh? Join the Anbu? Although I'm short of money and I really want to find someone to fight for the yellow sand gold coins, the Anbu is so dangerous. What if something goes wrong? I'm not the protagonist of a hot-blooded boys comic." "Is the salary high?" Is the salary high?" Quite high." "Then I'll join." Chapter 20 How could I have that kind of interest in women? Anbu, a secret organization managed by the upper echelons of Academy City. Most of them are directly controlled by the General Council, and some are directly under the chairman, Aleister Crowley. They act for their own purposes, and their duties are to maintain the stability within Academy City and to carry out things that cannot be expressed to the light, including assassination, silencing, fighting against external threats, researching black technology, maintaining stability through violence, armed suppression, counter-terrorism, and erasing data. Most of the actions carried out by Anbu members are dark and cruel. Each organization usually has 4 main members, and behind the 4 people there is a large number of personnel to support them, such as logistics support, hiding evidence, etc. Generally, after the Anbu members are killed, their bodies will be quickly burned to eliminate traces. Qin Ren recalled the things about Anbu, and he didn't remember much about Anbu. There are several main Anbu: Dragon, Top Secret, except Aleister. Almost no one knows the name of this Anbu, let alone its essence. Group belongs to the Unified Council, mainly deals with silencing, suppression, assassination, and Tsutamikato Sanaharu is one of its members. School belongs to the Unified Council, the second in LV5. The end of the material is the leader. Item, props, belongs to the Unified Council, the fourth in LV5. Atomic Collapse is the leader. Then there are other, doctors, new students, and so on. But Qin Ren doesn't remember them very well. He only remembers those who appear more in novels and animations. Although he has some impression of the others, he can't remember them clearly. The Anbu that Tsutamikato Sanaharu asked him to join was naturally group. There was nothing special about the process of joining. He didn't go to any place to go through any procedures. After he verbally agreed to Tsutamikato Sanaharu, he became a member of the Anbu. So casual, there is no base, and there is no special action. When asked about Tsutamikato, she just said that the salary would be paid as usual, and there would be extra pay for the actions. When asked what this Anbu does, The other party just answered, maintaining the stability and execution within the Academy City, including secret actions such as assassination, silencing, and deleting data. Qin Ren naturally didn't believe it. After all, although he didn't remember it clearly, the existence of this group seemed to be established just to detect the existence of Dragon. The other actions were basically excuses. Moreover, such the Mikado, as a double agent, is a member of the Puritan Church of Necessary Evil and a top level on Myoji. Although he couldn't quite understand how strong such the Mikado was, the identity of this top level on Myoji should definitely be much stronger than However, because superpowers and magic are incompatible, after receiving superpower development, he would bleed and get injured whenever he used magic. It's so troublesome, too complicated. Qin Ren thought with a headache, damn it, I should have read more novels, visited the forums, and watched the research party. During the patrol that day, Qin Ren did not see any special situation. He just persuaded a group of bad guys who were fighting in the alleys to go to the hospital to do good deeds, and got some yellow sand gold coins and several certificates. Unfortunately, most of them were persuaded by him and could not get yellow sand gold coins. At present, he has 37 yellow sand gold coins and 8 G-level certificates. In the evening, just after Qin Ren finished his late patrol and made a verbal report to the 177th branch, he was ready to return to the dormitory. But halfway, he saw Kamijutma running wildly. Master, where are you going? I'm going to the supermarket to buy food, Kamijutma said in a slightly panicked voice. Miss Maki, if you can give the poor nun some food, the Lord will thank you. Why will God thank me if I give you food? The conversation full of complaints reached Qin Ren's ears. When Qin Ren turned his sight, he saw two creatures, one big and one small. No, it was Kamijumaki and Index, a 13 or 14-year-old silver-haired girl wearing a loose white t-shirt that could cover her calves, holding a white nun's uniform with gold edges in her hands, and wearing a nun's hat. Her name is Index. She is a Puritan nun with complete memory ability. She is the magic book library that memorizes 103,000 magic books. He looked at the heroine in the original work very calmly. Now there are two heroines. Kamijutma has become a cheerful and beautiful girl with a big sister style, Kamijumaki. So why didn't Index become a little boy? This is a question worth pondering. When he stopped to observe and complain silently, Kamijumaki also noticed him. At this moment, Ms. Kamijumaki saw her savior. While talking to herself, Kamijumaki turned 3 steps into 2 and ran directly to Qin Ren. Izil, help me. Qin Ren stared at her for a few seconds, unconsciously combining the image of the beautiful girl in front of him with the image of the hedgehog-headed boy in his memory. The hormones secreted because the other party was of the opposite sex were directly blocked by his will. What's the matter? Qin Ren, who still regarded Kamijumaki as a man, responded. For some reason, this nun suddenly flew to my balcony, hung on the railing, and ate Miss Kamijumaki's reserve food. Kamijumaki accused Index of her crimes. The quantifier of a nun is not 1. Index came over angrily. Kamijutma tore my clothes. You are responsible. Why do you want me to be responsible for Tma tearing your clothes? Tma tore my clothes, and you broke my hat. I didn't know that the hat would be broken. I just picked it up from the ground. Hearing this, Qin Ren seemed to remember something and looked at the clothes in Index's hand. It was visible to the naked eye that there were all kinds of cracks on the nun's clothes, which were roughly patched with needles and threads. Because the sewing technology was not up to standard, golden pins were used to assist. Qin Ren remembered that this dress was set as a mobile church, which was the ultimate defense barrier that could defend against nuclear bomb-level attacks. But Qin Ren turned his attention to Kamijumaki's left hand. Her hand could erase all the power of illusion. As a magical item, this mobile church was destroyed after being touched by her. Qin Ren thought for a moment, then looked at Kamijumaki and said, as expected of the leader's sister, she has the same interest as the leader. Stripping off little girl's clothes, as expected of Kamiju, he didn't have any idea about Index. Although the nun's uniform was a plus, he had no sexual interest in little girls. Eh? Kamijumaki was stunned for half a second before she understood what Qin Ren meant, and hurriedly explained, I didn't take off her clothes on purpose. It's natural for Tma to have sexual interest in little girls at his age, but I won't. Oh. Qin Ren stared at her silently. Ah. Kamijumaki squatted on the ground with her head in her hands. It's over. It's over. Ms. Kamijumaki's reputation in this life is gone. She will be regarded as a pervert who strips little girls' clothes. Wait a minute. I'm a woman too. Maki Kamija suddenly thought of something, stood up again, and explained to Qin Ren with confidence. I just helped her check her body to see if she was injured. And I am a woman too. How could I have that kind of interest in women? I think you do. Qin Ren had no expression on his face, but said silently in his heart. Chapter 21 Discharging Misaka little brother. Maki Kamiju was desperate. She was regarded as a pervert who would violently tear the clothes of a little girl. Ms. Kamijumaki can't get married anymore. Looks like she's in good condition. Qin Ren looked at Maki Kamiju with lifeless eyes and a look of despair, walking crookedly into the room like a zombie. He blinked and returned to his room. However, just as he was about to open the door, he suddenly found that in the distance, on the bridge on the river, a bright lightning flashed through the sky, fell straight from the sky and hit the bridge. Is this Brother Pao? Sister Pao? What happened? Brother Pao and Sister Pao are both LV5 superpowers, tied for third place, and their common title is Lightning Twins. As for the separate title, Sister Pao, who focuses on electromagnetic conversion, is still Super Electromagnetic Gun, but Brother Pao pays more attention to the extended application of heat generation ability in the electrical system, and the self-defined ability is called Thunder Magnetic Heat Chain. It sounds like a very second-year title. Why not call it Thunder Heat Knife? Then his hobby is rap, darker skin, and stronger body. With curiosity, Qin Ren walked to the edge of the corridor, turned over and jumped directly from the 8th floor. When he fell down, the quicksand in his pocket surged out, wrapped his body and lifted him up, allowing him to land lightly on the ground. The moment he landed on the ground, the quicksand condensed into a sandboard under his feet, carrying him to move quickly. When Qin Ren arrived at the scene, he found two people on the bridge. One of them was indeed Misaka Suekoto, who was Pouch, not Pouji, and the other was Kamizaki, no, Orikawa Kakami. Misaka Suekoto was staring at Orikawa Kakami in strange clothes with a serious expression. And Orikawa Kakami, when Qin Ren arrived, he was putting his knife into the scabbard. Around him, there were traces of burnt black, only in a circular area under his feet. There were no burn marks, as if it was separated by something. After putting away the knife, Oricane Splitter God yawned and said in a boring voice, "Is this a superpower? This strength is not bad. It is stronger than Steel's Witch King hunting." Qin Ren was a little stunned. Wait a minute. Why did Misaka Suekoto fight with Oricane Splitter God? There is no such part in the original book. Is Kamisaki Kori's personality like this? No. Although it seems that Kamisaki Kori changed her personality after becoming Oricane Splitter God, it is not incomprehensible. After Qin Ren came, Oricane Splitter God glanced at him lightly, said nothing, and turned away without looking back. Wait a minute. What are you doing? Misaka Suekoto wanted to say something, but was stopped by Qin Ren. He glared at Qin Ren with his eyes wide open, and was very angry. I almost got the information. Get the information? What the hell? Qin Ren felt that he didn't understand a little bit. Misaka Suekoto wanted to get information from the saint on the magic side? What information? Intelligence on the magic side? Wait, could it be that, little brother of lightning, you can't beat him? Looking at Misaka Suekoto, he sighed. What information do you need? Don't call me little brother. And I'm level 5? Listening to the first half of Qin Ren's words, Misaka Suekoto wanted to say something, but when he heard the latter part, he was slightly stunned. It's about level_upper, that urban legend, because Qin Ren is also a member of the Discipline Committee and has participated in the Void Explosion case before. He thought Qin Ren knew. That person must be the one who used level_up. Misaka Suekoto answered as a matter of course. The person just now was able to resist the strongest move of the end lightning. Obviously, that person did not use the ability of lightning rods to deal with his lightning from the side, and unlike that strange woman, he did not directly erase his power, but resisted head-on. so he could only be level 5, because in Academy City, there are only 7 people of this level 5, one of them is himself, and the other LV5 he knows, leaving only 5. And the ability used just now is totally different from the other 5 level 5s. That's also very simple. The other party became level 5 from level 4 or even level 3 by using their fantasy hand. Ah, it's really an impeccable reasoning. You are worthy of it. Qin Ren, who couldn't think of any reason to refute it, said twice and clapped perfunctorily. Misaka Suekoto was not a fool. Qin Ren's perfunctory applause made several arcs of electricity appear on his forehead. Are you laughing at me? Izir. My name is Izir. Little brother, remember other people's names first. Qin Ren was a little speechless. Among the people he knew, only Zhao Pao would call him by the wrong name. Wait, calling him Sister Pao is not appropriate, but calling him Zhao Pao is okay. But forget it, Zhao Pao is also a girl. Before Misaka Suekoto could say anything else, he continued to speak. If it's about level_upper, fantasy hand, it's very simple. Come with me. Controlling the quicksand to form a sandboard under his feet, Qin Ren moved quickly. Hey, wait a minute. Looking at Qin Ren who was moving quickly on the sandboard, he shouted, and then sighed deeply. This ability was so unfair. Turning his head and looking around, he could also control the iron sand to make similar actions in places with a lot of metal, but it was too strenuous. It would be better to run there. 10 minutes later. Can't you wait a minute? Misaka Suekoto stopped panting, looking at Qin Ren who was standing not far ahead, and complained. Qin Ren just glanced at him. The junior high school figure, short hair, school uniform, and tsundere of Dipao were not the type he liked at all. If she became a man, she would be even less his type. If it was an extra individual, it would be fine, but it's a pity that in this world, the extra individual will also become a man. While he was feeling sad, Misaka Suekoto also walked up to him, with one hand on her waist and a well-shaped forehead, asking, "So, what do you think you can do?" The next moment, Misaka Suekoto saw the other party raise his arm, and the quicksand on the ground surged, attached to his arm, forming a huge, irregular fist, and then knocked hard against the wall. Boom, 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 boom. After the farmer punched 3 times, Qin Ren just stared at the depths of the alley. What are you doing? Misaka Suekoto turned his eyes away with a puzzled look, and then saw several black shadows running over in a hurry. With a burst of hurried footsteps, 5 young men with different fancy hair colors ran in front of the 2 and shouted to Qin Ren, "Brother." Yeah. Qin Ren nodded and looked at the group of people. Because he became a member of the discipline committee, when he was patrolling everywhere to persuade people to be kind, he didn't take action when he met them, and twice saw them in trouble, he helped them. And after that, these guys started calling him Big Brother. Isn't it better to call him Czar? Czar is so handsome, why call him Big Brother? It makes him sound like a gangster. Big Brother. Misaka Suekoto looked at Qin Ren with some confusion. When Qin Ren heard his doubtful repetition, he nodded with some evil interest. Well, what's the matter, little brother? However, Misaka Suekoto did not react to the fact that he had become a follower in the words, but just cast his eyes on the 5 young men who stood straight. Do they know about level_up? They should know. Qin Ren looked at them. Tell us everything you know about level_upper, fantasy hand. Yes, Big Brother, one of the red-haired guys shouted in a clear voice. It can improve your ability. It sells very expensively. It's music. The 5 people talked about everything they knew. Thanks to the book friend Baylan for the reward of 500 starting coins. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Red-haired and burning eyes steal. After parting with Misaka Suekoto and a group of bad boys, Qin Ren walked back all the way, preparing to return to the dormitory. However, halfway through, the sky-high flames flickered in the distance, and the charred charcoal particles floated over with the wind. However, When Qin Ren wanted to get closer, he suddenly had the idea of continuing to persuade the bad boys to improve every day. But at this moment, his head suddenly became confused, and his vision flickered. A hazy scene was reflected in front of him. The dry heat wave rolled into a whirlwind, whistling and roaring in his ears. The hot and dry heat wave, as if everything was burning. Where is this? It didn't look like the streets of the Academy City where he was. It was like being in a desert, as far as the eye could see, until the curved horizon blurred by gravel. It was all yellow sand, and there was no shelter as far as the eye could see. In the clear sky without any clouds, the sun scorching the earth cast scorching rays, and there was only a shadow under his feet. Shadow? Qin Ren seemed to have thought of something and turned his head. What appeared before him was a huge U-shaped ruin. The Qin people raised their perspective and saw a damaged sand-yellow disc floating in the air. It was a huge disc with complicated magic patterns engraved on it. Sun disc. The Qin people certainly recognized what this thing was. It was the symbol of the Shurima Empire, the sun disc. At this time, he felt that something seemed to have changed. When he turned his eyes to himself, he suddenly found that his feet had turned into eagle claws. He reached out and touched his face. It was not a feature that humans should have, but a bird. He suddenly remembered about Izir, the last emperor who had been sleeping for thousands of years because of an accident during his ascension due to the interference of Zerat. What is an ascender? An existence that has been upgraded by obtaining powerful magical energy through the sun disk. Renukn is a crocodile, Nasus is a jackal, and Izir is a kind of eagle. Izir is an eagle, not a chicken. The prototype is the sun god Ra, the Egyptian sun god, and Horus, the god of the pharaoh, who is a combination of Horus, the sun god with an eagle's head and a human body. Izir's setting is that during the ascension process, his body has the characteristics of an eagle, and in the game, his dancing moves are extremely funny, so he is nicknamed the Yellow Chicken. And this space is the Yellow Sand Space, the place that was originally used as a memory space. Just when he was about to continue exploring, all the scenes in front of him collapsed and dissipated in an instant. Qin Ren came to his senses and looked around. The surrounding scene turned back to the Academy City. It was not that the Yellow Sand Space came to reality, but his consciousness entered the Yellow Sand Space. Why did his consciousness enter the Yellow Sand Space? He was a little confused. Then, he seemed to remember something, the inexplicable feeling of wanting to leave just now. That's right, it should be to disperse idle people. It can make irrelevant people leave the spell area and achieve the effect of making people nearby feel that they don't know why they don't want to get close to here. A range spell. But now, it seems that he no longer has this feeling. Is it because of the Yellow Sand Space? After roughly determining the reason, Qin Ren immediately rushed to the dormitory. Dormitory apartment building, 7th floor corridor. Steel, whose injuries had recovered a lot, stood in the corridor and said to Kamijumaki who was blocking the way, "I told you, old woman, get out of my way." As Steel said this, she flicked the ash from her cigarette, and the ashes fell from her hand and shattered on the ground. Who is the old woman? Kamijumaki was furious. Obviously you are the old woman. I'm only 16 years old. With a height of 2 meters, he was 30 centimeters taller than her, and looked at least 28 or 29 years old. And she was still a 16-year-old beautiful girl. Steel put the cigarette in her mouth and glanced at Maki Kamiju. I'm only 14 years old. Maki Kamiju certainly wouldn't believe it. You're lying. As a clergyman, I won't lie. Steel had a look on her face that said, you want me to believe a suspicious guy who wears priest clothes and says he's a clergyman? Aren't women supposed to wear nun clothes? Hearing that she was suspected for this reason, Steel was stunned, and then said, because there are no sizes that big. Liar, no custom-made ones. This is a spiritual outfit. There are all kinds of requirements. Steel blew out a smoke ring, and then threw the empty cigarette butt towards Maki Kamiju. A rich flame gushed out from the cigarette butt, forming a scorching fire wave, about to attack Maki Kamiju. When Maki Kamiju saw the flame, she immediately raised her left hand. But at this moment, Steel's brows suddenly frowned, and then she turned back and waved her right hand. Dozens of rune seals burst into flames. Squeamish _ bloody _ rude, blood-sucking hunting red cross. The flames formed 2 flaming swords in his hands, one blue and one red. When she saw the person coming, her face changed. "It's you." The person who appeared was naturally Qin Ren. Originally, he thought that this feminine steel would not appear again for a while after being injured by him, but he didn't expect that he would appear that night. He looked at the red-haired girl holding the flaming swords in silence, and subconsciously combined her with the male version of steel in his mind. "It's you, Fire Mist Warrior. It seems that your injury heals quickly." While saying something that no one could understand, Qin Ren looked at the flaming swords in her hands. Then he took his hands out of his pockets, peeled off the concrete particles on the wall and the ground to form two strangely shaped sand swords. Because there was no specific visualization target, it was impossible to form a specific shape. Qin Ren just condensed the sand swords according to the two flame swords in the hands of steel in front of him, and his actions, no matter who he was, looked like a provocation. Although Qin Ren had this intention, at this time, Kamijumaki also saw Qin Ren, and couldn't help but shout out in surprise, "Izir." "Ah, master." Qin Ren let go of the hand holding the sand sword and put his hand back into his trouser pocket. "Are you all okay?" "It's okay." Kamijumaki waved his hand. I'm fine too." She was obviously very afraid of steel, hiding behind Kamijumaki and speaking. Unlike the original work, she was not injured. "What happened?" Ignoring steel, whose face was getting uglier, he asked. "When I came back from shopping, I saw Index, the nun, being chased by this old woman. She even chased her all the way here." Kamijumaki waved his left hand vigorously, accusing steel of her crime. Qin Ren took a look at the flaming sword held by steel in both hands. After knocking her down once, he couldn't get the yellow sand gold coins if he fought with her again, and he didn't want to fight her again. So, he asked steel, "This hot-tempered elder sister, why are you chasing that person?" "My name is Index." "Oh, right. Fire Mist Warrior, why are you chasing that Index?" Qin Ren raised his right shoulder and shook his dark green armband. "I am a member of the discipline committee. If you don't give a reasonable explanation, I will notify the security guards. Also, show me your temporary certificate." Fight with steel? He didn't have the strength. It would be so painful if he got hurt. At this time, he should make full use of the authority of the discipline committee. Steyer frowned, then asked, "What is a Fire Mist Warrior?" Chapter 23. So the question is, how expensive is a nuclear bomb? Seeing that Qin Ren didn't answer, steel took a deep breath of cigarette and then dispersed the flame sword in both hands. "I'm here to retrieve that thing." Hiding her feelings, steel explained indifferently while smoking a cigarette. As she said that, she also took out her temporary ID and threw it to Qin Ren. When Qin Ren checked, Kamijumaki, who reacted to the word recovery, repeated incomprehensibly, "Recover?" "Yes." She glanced at Index, who was hiding behind Kamijumaki. "She has something very important on her. We are responsible for protecting and retrieving her." "Liar. Why do you need to use fire to attack people to retrieve?" Kamijumaki retorted. "Anyway, I can't hurt her. With the mobile church here, the power of the flame sword I use is several times stronger, but it can't hurt her. I just want to stop her from running around." Steel answered simply, without any guilt or other emotions in her tone. Qin Ren, who was standing next to him, glanced at Index hiding behind Kamijumaki, and then glanced at Kamijumaki again. The defense of the mobile church is indeed super strong. After all, it claims to be able to defend against nuclear bomb attacks, but it has been torn apart by the hungry leader. When hearing mobile church, Kamijumaki's memory seemed to turn on a switch, and she turned her head to look at Index. It seems that this thing called mobile church has been broken by her left hand. In the end, it's still my fault. Qin Ren walked to a place where he stood to watch the show. Because Index was not seriously injured by Kamijukori. No, not by Kamijukori. So Kamiju leader did not seem to be angry enough to raise her fist to give Steel a girl's face-breaking punch. On the contrary, she looked like she had done something wrong. "Izir, come here." She immediately called Qin Ren to her side. When he walked between the three people, Kamijumaki directly pulled him to her side. "Is this mobile church very expensive?" "Is it very expensive?" This question stumped Qin Ren. He had no idea how expensive it was. "Little nun, How much is your dress? Qin Ren turned his head to look at Index, who was hiding behind Kamijumaki. It would be better to ask the person involved about this kind of thing. This. Index had no accurate idea of how expensive the mobile church was, because no one had ever measured items of this level with money. This little girl from the library with 103,000 magic books in her head didn't quite understand, so she could only stammer out the information about the mobile church. The mobile church includes the minimum necessary elements of a church, and is a church in the form of clothing, including the weaving of the cloth, the sewing of the thread, and the embroidery decoration method. All have been carefully calculated, and the cloth completely reproduces the concept of the Durin holy shroud that the saint was wrapped in when he was pierced by the spear of Longinus. At this time, Steele on the side had heard their conversation, and couldn't help but take a deep puff of cigarette, and interrupted. The strength of the mobile church is at the level of the Pope. The power of the barrier is comparable to that of the London Cathedral. Unless the legendary dragon of St. George descends again, it will never be destroyed. No matter whether it is physical or magical attack, it will be completely absorbed by it. You scientists probably can't understand how strong the defense level is. Just imagine it as a nuclear bomb. It can defend against nuclear bomb attacks. How valuable is such clothes? At least it won't be cheaper than a few nuclear bombs. Listening to the description of the two, Kamijumaki's face became paler and paler. She smiled bitterly, looking at Qin Ren with the last glimmer of hope. Izil, is what they said true? This. Because of Alistair's ubiquitous surveillance, Qin Ren had no intention of exposing himself on such matters, so he just answered ambiguously, I'm not sure if it can block a nuclear bomb, but at least it can block a level 4 fire attack. He saw with his own eyes the day that Steele used powerful fire magic to knock Index down, so this sentence could explain it. This news did not deny the value of the little nun's clothes, but raised the bottom line of the value to capable of blocking level 4 fire attacks. Qin Ren, who was standing aside, then heard Kamijumaki mumbling, It's over. It's over. Ms. Kamijumaki will spend her whole life paying off debts. What a pity hearing this. Qin Ren glanced at the innocent little nun blinking behind her. In fact, when he read the original work before, he always thought that if the mobile church was destroyed, why didn't the leader have to pay? From the perspective of destroying the mobile church, the leader could not pay off the debt even if he raised Index for decades. However, Steele had no interest in watching Kamijumaki show off. After explaining, she said, Okay, give it to me. Qin Ren didn't react much, but felt sorry for Steele. No, Steele and the others. As someone who is familiar with the plot, Qin Ren knows very well that Steele and Kanzaki Kori were once Index's guardians and close partners, and they both have deep feelings for Index, especially Steele, who refers to Index as the thing in front of others. And all his indifference to Index is just a disguise. He flew all over the world to protect Index, and with the awareness of protecting Index's life, he would do anything to protect Index, even at the cost of his life, and fought with various magicians who coveted Index's magic library, and was injured many times or even seriously injured. But because of the memory being erased, Index forgot all these and regarded the two people who had the deepest feelings for her as enemies. This is the most miserable. If you want to say who has the deepest feelings for Index, the leader is definitely not the first one. As for whether Steele is still like this after being feminized, he doesn't know, but judging from the current reaction, it probably doesn't matter. However, Maki Kamiju didn't know all this. After seeing Steele use fire to attack Index, she didn't believe the old woman's explanation even after hearing it. And Maki Kamiju turned her head and glanced at Index behind her. This greedy nun and this old woman didn't seem to be friends at all. How could she be handed over to this tall old woman? I refuse. Maki Kamiju refused loudly. It's really difficult. Steele smiled slightly, and the cigarette between her lips curled up slightly. Then Qin Ren only saw her mouth move slightly and recite something. Mtwefto. One of the 5 elements that build the world. Egoif, the great flame of the ancestorable, the light of grace that breeds life. Ayao, the light of punishment that punishes evil. While bringing peace and happiness. Ayabad, it also eliminates the misfortune of cold, darkness and freezing. Isf, Its name is Flame Dash. Ims. Its job is Sword ICR. Show yourself, Mbop. Gnaw my body and turn it into power in Essentius, the king who hunts witches. Chapter 24. Defeat it, my soldiers. Boom. A thick flame burst out from Steel's chest. As a user of the spell, the high temperature of 3000 degrees did not cause any harm to Steel, but this terrifying high temperature tore the surrounding air into pieces of heat waves. A nearly spherical burning red flame swallowed and spit out heat waves in the air. Then, it expanded at a very fast speed, forming a huge flame giant in the corridor on the 7th floor. The corridor with a width of more than 2 meters could not accommodate this huge flame giant at all. Hunting the Witch King. Soon after it appeared, the surrounding walls, ground, and ceiling made dry and cracking sounds. Reinforced concrete will quickly reduce its strength and produce cracks at 300–400 degrees Celsius. Later, it will be burned and melted, like magma, and the walls and ground will begin to dissolve. The scorching waves generated in this process made the three people retreat. Without the defense of the mobile church, Index could not bear the flames at all. Although Kamijumaki can destroy various fantasy powers with her left hand, except for her left palm, her other parts are no different from ordinary people. And Qin Ren, although he has the ability to control sand and can resist a certain degree of high temperature, he is still a human after all. What ability can defend against high temperature? By the way, can I exchange for Liaosha's sand fruit ability, or the Sandman's sanctification ability? Qin Ren thought, but he had less than 100 yellow sand gold coins, so he couldn't exchange for these skills at all. He can only break the user aura. By the way, in the original work, Steel's spell is mainly operated by posting small advertisements. Steel's rune magic will change its strength depending on the number of runes, and it must be activated by posting rune seals everywhere. At this time, Index, who had not lost consciousness, also immediately said, I can't interfere with the chanting. She uses rune cards and coded spells, which can destroy the opponent's runes to achieve the effect of destroying the Witch King. Another way is to get close to her and defeat her. Such magic requires a lot of magic power. Witch King hunting is a magic formula that combines rune text and crusaders. This kind of Pope-level magic requires more consumption. She doesn't have the physical strength for close combat. As long as she loses consciousness, the formula will fail. Because the opponent used the spell to encrypt, Index couldn't intervene in the opponent's chanting by chanting Kabbalah spells, but as a library of 100,000 magic books, and was hunted by the opponent for a year, she still understood some of the opponent's characteristics, and immediately made suggestions to Kamijumaki and Qin Ren. Qin Ren then remembered that Index had a skill, force chanting, which interfered with the enemy's chanting and even took control of the opponent's spell. As for the meaning of her words, Qin Ren understood. To put it bluntly, Index meant to defeat the Witch Hunter King by making the opponent lose consciousness or destroy the advertisement. Moreover, Steel was a scum in close combat. Qin Ren understood, and so did Kamijumaki. She looked at her left hand and clenched her fist. This thing should be able to be erased, right? It was her first time dealing with magic, and she was a little unsure whether her left hand could erase the flame. At this time, the Witch Hunter King, with a strong intention to attack, stretched out his arms, and grabbed Qin Ren and Kamijumaki with his monster-like flaming arms. It was a good time to experiment with the Imperial Wall. Defeat it, my soldiers. Qin Ren's full voice sounded, and his arms clenched in the air, bringing him 10% of the momentum value. At the same time, the mana was agitated, and the concrete particles on the ground and walls of the corridor were quickly peeled off, forming two neatly dressed soldiers holding giant shields and spears in front of the three people, and then rushed forward and pushed hard. In this narrow corridor, two giant shields that completely blocked the corridor directly hit the Witch King. What happened next made Steel and Index stunned. The Witch King, who had no entity and was completely made of flames, was directly knocked away by an inexplicable force. The flaming body was knocked away, drew an arc in the air, and almost hit the not-so-high ceiling, and then fell towards Steel, who was standing behind the Witch King. When she saw the Witch King flying, she realized that something was wrong and hurriedly stepped back. When the flaming giant fell to the ground, it splashed flames, burning and bursting the surrounding metal and concrete walls. As a fire magician, she has always had the high-temperature protection technique, which can almost be said to be passive. She was not worried about whether the witch-hunting king would harm her. What puzzled her was why the witch-hunting king without a physical body would, from Zhuo Lishen and such a Mikado Yuan. She knew that the short blonde man named Izir Qin was a raw stone, not a magician. Even the technology side could not understand the ability of the raw stone, and she had no clue. She just commanded the witch-hunting king to attack again with a serious face. Crackling, amid the concrete explosions of the walls, the ground and the ceiling of the corridor, the witch-hunting king clenched his hands in the air, and the flames on his body surged, forming a huge weapon like a cross in his hands. Qin Ren was slightly relieved after watching the 2 yellow sand guards knock the witch-hunting king away. Moreover, because if it was fully summoned, there would be 7 yellow sand guards, but because the corridor was small, 2 guards were enough to block it. Such an incomplete summoning did not consume that much mana. But at this moment, he saw the witch-hunter king holding up the cross of fire and waving it vigorously at the yellow sand guards. The cross of fire smashed hard at the yellow sand guards in front of him, and the cross of fire formed by magic and runes directly hit the huge shield of the guards. At this time, Kamijumaki beside him was still immersed in amazement. She didn't understand magic at all, but she just felt it was amazing. Index was thinking hard. Like steel, she also regarded Qin Ren as a magician. The magic system over there in Egypt, is it extracted from the concept of mummies, or is it through the worship of Anubis? She completely memorized 130,000 magic books including the Egyptian magic system, and began to analyze Qin Ren's formula like an occupational disease. If Qin Ren knew about it, he would definitely shout, "What is the god of death Anubis? It's a dog head." The prototype of the dog head is the god of death Anubis. Azra's prototype should be Horus and Ra, the sun god and patron god of the pharaoh in ancient Egyptian mythology, characterized by eagles and falcons. The prototype of the crocodile is probably Sebek, the Egyptian water god. However, when the witch-hunter king picked up the flaming cross to attack the yellow sand guards, he suddenly felt that part of the yellow sand guards had lost control. Chapter 25. Try waterproofing next time. Because the concrete particles that made up the yellow sand guards were melted and bonded together, he could no longer control the melted part of his body. But it's okay, there is as much sand as you want, and it's no problem if it's melted. It's just, what are you doing? While I'm blocking him, go and destroy his runes. He almost shouted the word small advertisement, but in order to maintain his momentum, he stopped abruptly and changed the word to runes. Oh, good. Kamijumaki hurriedly grabbed Index's hand and ran down the stairs with her. Qin Ren, hearing the crackling sound coming from the yellow sand soldiers in front of him, he directly released his control over the yellow sand guards. If he really wanted to fight, he would directly control the sand to bury the corridor, or directly use the sand to penetrate the opponent's body. This is not bragging or pretending. With his mana and magic power, he would consume about 30% to 40% of his mana to lift 100 kilograms of sand from the first floor to the 7th floor, and pouring this force into a grain of sand. More than 100 kilograms of force is exerted on a grain of sand with a diameter of only a few millimeters. Then the question is, how big is the pressure? How long can the work be continued? 5 points for this question. However, Steele did not mean to do this junior high school physics question, and controlled the witch-hunting king to continue attacking the yellow sand guards. Although the Qin people stopped pouring mana into the yellow sand guards, there was still some mana left in the body of the yellow sand guards, constantly attracting the surrounding yellow sand to fill the body, and because of the high temperature melting, the body of the yellow sand guards did not fall apart, but was fused together. The yellow sand guards, which was burned red by the high temperature, still stood firmly in place, and did not take a step back even if the body melted, and the high temperature melted body was constantly filled with quicksand. Such a scene made Steele frown. Although she knew that the other party was a stone and not a magician, this situation looked like a puppet-type spell no matter how she looked at it. But if it was really a core-constructed puppet, the high temperature of the witch-hunting king would be enough to destroy the core. After raising the cross and smashing it 3 times at the 2 yellow sand guards, the bodies of the yellow sand guards were finally completely melted. However, Steele did not see the panic of the short blonde man that she wanted to see. The other party was gone. At this time, she suddenly noticed that the concrete particles on the outer wall were peeled off by some force and rushed behind her. Behind, squeamish_bloody_rude, blood-sucking hunting Red Cross. Steele did not think much about it and recited the spell. At the same time, a strong flame surged out of the rune seal paper, forming 2 flaming swords, one red and one blue, in her hands. Although her physical strength was not enough to support close combat, it did not mean that she did not have the skills for close combat. She spun her body, and the 2 flaming swords swept through the air, burning away all the oxygen while drawing 2 burning tracks and slashing out. Boom! The sound of the oxygen being burned away and the sound of the flaming swords colliding with something mixed together. Steele then saw that the target of the flaming swords was a gray-black sand soldier dressed in a similar outfit to that of an ancient Roman soldier. Its body had just formed, and the 2 flaming swords had slashed its right arm. There were crackling explosions, and the high-temperature burning caused its body to begin to melt. But for some reason, Steele did not feel happy, but felt a greater sense of crisis. "Miss, you should pay more attention to your feet, irritable lady." A cold voice came from the corner of the corridor in front, and Steele followed the other party's words and subconsciously cast her eyes towards her feet. At some point, her feet were already covered with gray-black quicksand, and countless red quicksands were floating around her priest-like spiritual attire, which gradually turned red due to the high temperature. She had actually noticed these quicksands, but because they were burned red by the high temperature, she thought they were sparks. "Miss, if you think you can resist particles that can penetrate steel in all directions, you can continue to attack." The other party's words made Steele's face darken. All directions. She looked at the fine sand floating around her, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. She didn't have any good way to block these sands. At this time, a female voice came from above. "Steele, you'd better choose to admit defeat now." Steele raised her head and saw a blonde woman standing on the roof of the opposite building. Such the Mikado. Steele gritted her teeth. Losing to the same person twice in a row was a big blow to her self-esteem. "I understand." And downstairs, Maki Kamiju, who wanted to remove the runes that Index mentioned, was having a headache. Everywhere she looked, whether it was the stairs, the floor, or the door panels, there were white pieces of paper the size of trading cards, and on each piece of paper there were runes that looked like English letters that she didn't recognize at all. "What should I do, Index?" She turned her head to look at the little nun beside her, and Index had no idea what to do. "If you have the materials, you can prepare them." Index was about to say some magic that could be used with simple materials, but Maki Kamiju, who still believed in science, didn't believe in magic at all. "Stop!" After shouting to stop, she looked around. "Fire! Fire with water!" "Water can't extinguish the Witch King hunting. It uses magic as energy and runes as converters. The actual body is in the rune space. If the runes are not destroyed, it is useless to destroy the Witch King hunting. It will be reborn. We have to give it a try." However, Kamijumaki did not stop her actions. The fire alarm that should have been automatically triggered due to high temperature did not trigger for some reason. She needed to find the emergency fire alarm button. After looking around, she finally found the emergency fire alarm near the fire extinguisher, opened the cover directly, and punched the red button. In an instant, like the sound of a police car sirens, in less than a second, water gushed out from the sprinkler heads throughout the building. Qin Ren and Sitter, who were confronting each other on the 7th floor, were also drenched by the water gushing out from the sprinkler on the ceiling. Steele looked up at the metal pipes inside the wall that were exposed because of the melting of the concrete and were not damaged by the high temperature. A sneer appeared on her beautiful face. "Do you think that you can extinguish the flames with water?" Qin Ren did not answer, but turned his head calmly to look at Such the Mikado Sanaharu. "Such the Mikado, do you think it can be extinguished?" Such the Mikado Sanaharu, who was ready to watch the show, did not expect the topic to be brought to her side. She thought for a while and then answered, "Water cannot extinguish the Witch Hunter King with a flame of 3000 degrees. However, as she was talking, she suddenly paused, as if she saw something incredible. She moved her perspective downward and looked in the direction of Maki Kamijwind Index. I see, Steel, even without Izil, you really lost this time. How is it possible? Steel could not understand why such a Mikado would say this. But at this time, she suddenly realized something. The demand for magic power has decreased. She immediately turned her head to look at the Witch Hunter King standing behind her. Its size was much smaller than when it was first summoned. Why? Next time you can try to use waterproof ink to print the runes, and you can also choose waterproof paper, but the price is a bit higher. Qin Ren made a pertinent suggestion. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.